The small flies that you can find swarming around various corpses in Fallout New Vegas are actually low-poly tiny bloat flies. This is just another small detail that I think makes the Fallout series even better when you look at it as a whole. While in New Vegas, if you visit Vault 22 and you go inside Sarah's room, you will be able to see a portrait of James and Catherine from Fallout 3, the Lone Wanderer's parents. Now, this is either a Fallout 3 Easter egg for some reason, because of the Vault Tech connection, or this is just a photo reuse asset situation. Either way, it is an interesting discussion piece. If you manage to get the Sheriff's Duster in Fallout New Vegas, you'll notice that it's the same Sheriff's Duster that Lucas Sims had in Fallout 3, down to the Sheriff's Star, which even says Megaton. Now, this could be a Fallout 3 reference, but that's highly unlikely. Odds are it's just an oversight and a reused asset.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Just outside the border of New Vegas and Freeside, in front of Camp McCarran, we can find the fabulous New Vegas sign. Adorned in lights, the sign welcomes or warns worried travelers that they are entering New Vegas proper. It would seem someone left a tiny bit of positivity in the message, as we can find a small smiley face drawn inside the O of welcome, a terrific greeting to a beautiful city. Shout out to Bees from the Discord server for showing me this one. Link to the post is in the description. In Fallout New Vegas, if you have the Wild Wasteland trait, you can find this group of aliens to the north of the city. While most players go in blasting, if you remain hidden and take out just the alien captain, the other two aliens will remain non-hostile to the player. It's always nice to have some friends in the Mojave, especially when they're from out of this world. When testing Fallout New Vegas, Obsidian used a test cell NPC named Testicles the Debug Centurion. We can spawn him using console commands, and when speaking to him, we can change many things with the save file like quest outcomes, reputation levels, and even spawn Rex as a companion. Interestingly, the same model is used for Ron the Narrator, who can also be seen using console commands by spawning him in or turning on player controls during the ending slideshow. Ron the Narrator acts as an NPC in-game in place of Ron Perlman's VA lines. If your sneak skill in Fallout New Vegas is over 60, you will be able to sneak up on Ghost and get this unique bit of dialogue.
Didn't even hear you come up the ramp. You don't broadcast your movements. I like that. You a courier? If so, this might be your lucky day. If you don't mind walking a bit. And your eyes are good.
In Fallout New Vegas, inside Sloan, we can meet Snuffles, the mole rat with the busted leg. But we will be focusing on a fun fact about a different part of his body in this video. It has always been a fun little factoid that Snuffles actually has a higher intelligence stat than Caesar, with Snuffles the mole rat maintaining a solid 5 intelligence, and the infamous leader of Caesar's Legion holding firm at 4 for the stat. Some would argue this is because Caesar has a brain tumor. I think it's just because Snuffles is a genius. Thank you to Soviet on the Discord for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, if we go to the King's School of Impersonation, we can find a few rare items we can't find anywhere else. Inside one of the rooms in the school, we can find a beer pong table. Seems some traditions never die. We can also see 3 ping pong balls, an item that is located entirely in this room. Not much about these balls is interesting, but much like Soviet said on the Discord, these are a must-have display item for any rare item collector. In Fallout New Vegas, you are dug out of a shallow grave by Victor and treated by Doc Mitchell in Good Springs. Doc will have you go through a few different tutorials as you build your character, but have you ever noticed the hidden one involving the Brahmin skull? Walking over to the fireplace and using the grab command, pushing in the right stick on consoles and the Z key on PC will issue the prompt for this cut part of the tutorial. This is a small detail that is easy to miss for both new and veteran players of New Vegas, as most would see you can't loot it and move on. Thank you to Golden Mail for suggesting this in the YouTube comments. In Fallout New Vegas, we can meet Old Lady Gibson. She is a scavenger of the Mojave and has been most of her life. She will mention that her favorite piece is the O she got from the RepCon sign, and we can actually see where she got it in game. Heading to the RepCon test site, if we look at the sign, we can see the O is missing, and this is the place Gibson got her seat from. The Fallout series is filled with small details like this, and it makes the game worlds feel that much more alive. In Fallout New Vegas, the quest There Stands the Grass will send you to Vault 22. Before heading out, you can hear about a scientist named Keeley who's been doing work there. After speaking to Keeley, we learn that spores in the air are behind the wild plant life surrounding Vault 22. We can see these spores under Keeley's UV light on level 2 of the vault. After helping her purge the area, we can see that the spores are no longer in the air if we come back to the light. A terrific small detail most players would likely miss that adds to the immersion of Fallout New Vegas. In Fallout New Vegas, just southeast of Horowitz Farm, lies a house that kind of breaks the norm. This house is open, meaning that there's no load screen required when going in and out. I have played a lot of Fallout New Vegas, and this is the only house fully built inside that seems to be this way. Of course, if you have found others, please let me know in the comments. Guarded by 2 fiends, the house is a nice resting area for anyone who can clear them out. While there are ruins throughout the Mojave that have a similar feel, I haven't found a complete house that is just open in the wasteland like this. Northwest of the 188 trading post lies the Followers Outpost, which, as the name would imply, is an outpost for the followers of the apocalypse in Fallout New Vegas. On the outside, this looks like any standard quaint railway tower, but on the inside we can see that the followers really made use of their space. The ceiling is much higher than the outside would lead you to believe. The overall room available is far more than what is represented by the tower itself. This is probably more common than we think, so if you know of any more buildings like this, hit the comments and let everyone know. While filming for videos in Fallout New Vegas, I came across a really interesting bug with Victor. After siding with the town in Ghost Town gunfight, I tried to recruit Victor and then talk to him after the fight, and this is what happened. Let me know down in the comments if this has happened to you. It's a pretty crazy bug, and I just want to know if anybody else has experienced it. In Fallout New Vegas, the big dust-up between the NCR and the Legion happens at Hoover Dam. If you don't align with Caesar, one of your final tasks will be to confront Legate Lanius at his camp. You can get some unique dialogue here if you change into Legion armor and disguise yourself as a member of the faction. Not only will the Legion not attack you, but Lanius will have this to say.
"And who is this before me in the colors of the Legion? An envoy, dressed as an insult to all that carry out Caesar's will."
I love when games do this. Changing the encounter based on small things like what you are wearing is such a great touch. This has been suggested by quite a few people, but most recently, the Pro Game Freak on Discord. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC Lonesome Road, we can find an extremely rare item. In fact, this is the only time that we can find this at all. After exiting the Hopeville silo, if we head to the back of the Solitaire gas station, we have a 1 in 10 chance of a Nuka-Cola Quantum spawning in this crate. If you miss it, you miss it. You would have to reload a save before you leave the silo in order to reroll the contents of this crate. This is the only Nuka-Cola Quantum in the entire game, so if you're a collector of rare items, this will be a must grab for you on every playthrough. In Fallout New Vegas, after you have made a name for yourself and got some levels under your belt, while walking around Freeside, you may get stopped by a thug. Now, Freeside thugs aren't anything rare or unique, but this one seems to have a change of demeanor once they recognize you, and it makes for a pretty funny encounter.
"Give me all your cap." Whoa, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was you. Please don't hurt me. I've got a wife and kids and pets and stuff.
Thank you to Arizona Ranger from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, once you gain the favor of Caesar's Legion, you will be offered the key to a safe house for the faction. This humble abode has a nice Legion flag on the wall, an entertainment area, and a few beds to choose from, with various gear on each of them. One of these beds holds a unique item that any courier will want to grab for their journey, the Lucky Shades. These sunglasses will grant the player +1 luck and look pretty good while doing it. While these shades aren't in the best condition when we find them, they can be easily repaired with other glasses, so make sure this is one of your stops before you hit the casinos on the strip. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find many different nuclear-powered bugs and creatures. One of the best among them are the mantis that we can find in various spots around the Mojave. If you happen to find some mantis, make sure to look for their eggs. If we shoot them, it will break the clutch and release the baby mantids into the world. If you aren't doing this in every playthrough, you are doing mankind a great disservice. Thank you to Leif Saturmo from the YouTube comments for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the locations we can visit is Jacobstown, a city of super mutants that revolves around the Jacobstown Lodge. Inside the lodge, we can find a few things that can only be found here, like the Mount Charleston snow globe for example, but we can find an old pre-war game in the lodge that can't be found anywhere else in the Mojave. Upstairs, in one of the bedrooms available for guests of the resort, we can find an old pinball machine. This is the only pinball machine that exists in Fallout New Vegas, and because of that, It's worth a stop for people who like to check out rare items and objects. Thank you to Azzy from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we can come across Lily Bowen, a delightful nightkin in Jacobstown that can be recruited as a companion. New Vegas is praised for the overabundance of spoken dialogue it has, and we can hear a rare line from Lily if we take her to Black Mountain. After speaking with Neil and getting the quest Crazy Crazy Crazy, if we have Lily with us when we meet with Tabitha, we can hear this unique dialogue regardless of how it all pans out.
Tabitha, you naughty, naughty girl. Leo remembers what you did.
Suppose you manage to make it to the fort in Fallout New Vegas before going to the strip and speaking to Mr. House inside the Lucky 38. If that's the case, he will have a few unique dialogue lines reflecting that you blew him off.
Quite an honor you spurned my invite. You would be the first person to set foot inside the Lucky 38 in over 200 years. But you still wound up here, right where I wanted you. I knew I could rely on Caesar to return the platinum chip to you. But that's not going to happen, because you're going to work for me.
Thank you to Soviet from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the most popular drinks around the Mojave is Sunset Sarsaparilla. Of course, we can find the headquarters for this tasty creation just outside of Vegas, but many people may miss a small but rare object while we're here. We can find a very hard locked door on the first floor. This was the office of Sunset Sarsaparilla VP of Tech, Marcus Brody, and inside we can find what we are looking for, a miniature empty Sunset bottle. This is just a nice little find that may be worth picking up to decorate your room later if you find yourself in the area. In Fallout 3, we can come across the Temple of the Union, a camp of escaped slaves that want to create a safe haven at the Lincoln Memorial. They will task the Lone Wanderer with helping them secure and restore the site, which includes putting the head back on the statue of Lincoln himself. Though, in Fallout New Vegas, we can find Lady Jane when gathering bounties for the Garretts. Jane will point us to the Brockflower Cave to recover her pack Brahmin. Once inside the cave, we can see a pretty surprising item tied to the Brahmin, Lincoln's head. There's no information at all on why this appears in New Vegas this way. Fallout New Vegas takes place 4 years after Fallout 3, so it's hard to think that this is the same head from the Capital Wasteland, primarily since the Temple of Union used it to repair the memorial. What do you think the reason for this Lincoln cameo is? Let me know in the comments below. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the most happening spots is the Strip, which houses the major casinos we can visit and gamble at. One thing some players miss is the delightful audio Easter egg that plays from the slot machines. When you increase your bet at one of the machines, the bass notes to a familiar tune will play. The melody is from the main menu music of Fallout 3 and has been used in most Fallout games since. Most everyone who has played Fallout New Vegas is undoubtedly familiar with Yes Man, the agreeable AI that Benny planned to take over the Strip with. In-game, we see a smiling face on the monitor to represent this fan favorite, but there were more faces planned for Yes Man, and they don't seem nearly as cheery as his final form. These two faces can be found in the New Vegas game files, showing Yes Man with different expressions. I guess these would be used when saying something that Yes Man doesn't like, or attacking the Securitron he embodies. Perhaps showing on the Lucky 38 monitor if the courier was to somehow betray the AI. These were likely left out due to Yes Man's personality. He is supposed to always agree and be happy with whatever choice you make, and these expressions contrast to that. Only the devs of New Vegas genuinely know what these were going to be used for, but I would love to hear what your ideas are in the comments below. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find many great armor sets. However, one set to be used in Fallout 3 still exists in the game files, and it is a shame we aren't able to properly obtain it in New Vegas. The Enclave Shock Trooper armor looks identical to the Enclave Power armor that we see in Fallout 3, but can take more hits before it breaks, and the helmet has lower DR than its in-game counterpart. This would have been cool to find in New Vegas as a callback to Fallout 3. With the Enclave remnant still around, it could have been in the bunker, perhaps being studied by the West Coast chapter of this faction. I believe the advanced power armor, known as the Remnant's armor in New Vegas, is far superior, and I'm glad that we have it in a more modern Fallout game, but this would have been an excellent addition to the power armor sets that we can find in the Mojave. In Fallout New Vegas, we can travel to Red Rock Canyon and meet the Great Khans. Two of these Khans, Jack and Diane, will have a quest for the courier running various packages around the Mojave and allowing us to teach Jack some recipes if we pass the proper dialogue checks. The Khan's reward for doing this bit of work is quite a practical unarmed attack called the Khan Trick. With all of the grace of a spry Dale Gribble, the courier will now be able to reach down and throw a handful of dirt at their enemies. This is supposed to only work when you are on dirt and sand, but when it does work, it can be one of the best attacks you can learn in New Vegas, as any of the unarmed weapon effects transfer to the dirt, so it can be pretty devastating. Not to mention the absurdity of groups of people falling to pocket sand. In Fallout New Vegas, back at Jack and Diane's drug lab in Red Rock Canyon, we can find a few trailers that the two use for their daily activities. One of these mobile homes has a table that has an interesting rare item on it that we can only find here at the Khan's camp. This flower is highly suspect. Our first most significant and only indicator is the quotations around the item name when we see it in game. There are only 3 bags of this stuff in Fallout New Vegas, and all of them are right here. These sacks of powder are likely being implied to be narcotics of some kind. Most people can probably make their best guess as to what they think it would be exactly. This white stuff is one of the rarest items in the game though, so making sure to steal all 3 off the table is a must for item hoarders. Thank you to Spymaster66 for suggesting this one on the Discord server. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find a broken howitzer cannon when doing a Legion run. If we talk to Lucius, we can get a quest to fix this bad boy, leading us to the Boomers. We will want them to help us, so becoming friends with the group is a good idea. After the questing at Nellis, we can grab a firing mechanism to fix the cannon at the fort, which will then aid the Legion in the battle at Hoover Dam. Speaking of big guns that can be used that people miss, as suggested by Craftwork on the Discord server, we can go to the X7A left field artillery and fire the giant gun at the Boomtown target zone. Just some fun small details that people can easily miss. In Fallout New Vegas, while in Freeside, you may see a kid or group of kids chasing a giant rat around the old Mormon fort. To some, it may just look like a fun game that the children do to stay busy, but the truth is a bit darker than that. These kids are chasing their dinner, and if they don't catch it, they likely won't eat. Freeside is a rough area with a lot of poor and downtrodden people. The good news is, we can kill the rat and secure dinner for the kids. After taking care of the rat, we can even see the kids eat it sometimes.
Thanks, mister.
In Fallout New Vegas, one of the casinos we can visit is the Tops. This is where Benny and his chairman can be found, so I'm sure most, if not all of you watching this video have been here at some point during your playthroughs. One area that many people miss due to no real quest objectives or loot being present is the rooftop courtyard that houses a swimming pool found by going through the equally less traveled diner or by going around the back of the main casino floor. This lush paradise is the perfect spot to relax after dealing with Benny or just after a long day of patrolling the Mojave. Still, many people miss this location entirely, and being tucked away out of the main loop doesn't help this much either. Make sure to get some sun and take a dip the next time you find yourself at the Tops. Even a post-apocalyptic courier needs their break too. In Fallout New Vegas, near the Nipton rest stop and past the plane crash, we can find a location many players miss during their playthroughs, the Scorpion Burrow. Up top, we can find a bunch of rad scorpions, and below it's not much different. Among those in the burrow itself, we can find a rad scorpion queen. This is one of 2 locations where we can find a queen, the other being the Searchlight Fire Station. After dealing with the queen, we can find a few poor souls that couldn't stand the scorpions down here. Some, like a prospector with good loot, and others with strange loot like a wastelander with some Sierra Madre chips. The Fallout series is filled with hidden locations that lie just off the beaten path. This easily missable nest of hellbugs is an excellent example of how some of them can be hiding in plain sight. In Fallout New Vegas, we can come across a disgruntled bounty hunter named Little Buster. He will be punching his cares away at Camp McCarran with his unique unarmed weapon, the Cram Opener.
Hey, yeah. Next time you see me, maybe I'll be rolling in a shitload of caps, right?
Nothing is stopping you from killing him and taking it now, but if we complete the quest 3-card bounty and take out the fiends listed, little Buster will be gone from the area. Turns out, the next time we see him, he isn't rolling in caps, he's actually dead outside the old Mormon fort, laying on the train tracks. Of course, we can loot the cram opener from him here, but some may miss this opportunity because it's such a poorly trafficked area. Regardless, it's nice that Obsidian tied his little story together, even if it didn't turn out so well. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find many unique items tucked away in the Mojave. Some have a practical use, and others you might just pick up because you feel it fits your personality. Even in terrible hellscapes like Black Mountain, filled with aggressive super mutants, large amounts of radiation, and Tabitha, the voice of Black Mountain Radio, even here we can find a unique item that rare item collectors will want for their home display. Inside the broadcast building, set up by a stand by some equipment, is the sheet music book. While this item has no use in-game and a value of 100, it is still the only sheet music book we can find in New Vegas, meaning that anyone who has a connection with music or just one-of-a-kind finds will want to add this to their inventory. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the more striking locations that we can find is the Searchlight area. Searchlight proper was victim to a chemical attack from the Legion, which has decimated the NCR in the small city. One of the more exciting things we can find is at the fire station, lying between the two parked fire trucks. The training dummy looks like a dead NPC. In fact, I'm not entirely sure it's not, since we can use the cannibal perk on it and even resurrect him. Most people believe this to be a pre-war model used to train the firefighters in the area. But who's to say it's not just a dead NPC named Training Dummy that managed to get caught up in the attack at Searchlight? Either way, the damn thing has always creeped me out, but make sure to pay our boy a visit during your next playthrough. In Fallout New Vegas, you will likely acquire the quest Come Fly With Me. In this side quest, we have to help Jason Bright and his followers get their rockets to working order to travel to the far beyond. They wish to leave the Mojave due to the ghoul bigotry in the area. Most ferals being shot on sight makes the group uneasy. Due to the use of rockets and the vague name of the far beyond location, many people just assumed that the Bright Brotherhood was headed to outer space in search of another planet altogether, but this is not true. This is proven by the fact that in some endings, parts of the religious group make their way back to the Mojave to rebuild and help settlers after the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, shown in slides walking across the wasteland. The more likely destination for Jason and his bunch is Dayglow, a town known for its large population and acceptance of ghouls, as well as its high residual radiation levels. In Fallout New Vegas, just outside of Novak, we can find Gibson's scrapyard, along with the owner, Old Lady Gibson. Gibson has become a fan favorite over the years, and her services are often used to saw off the copious amount of junk found in the Mojave. If the courier was to take Old Lady Gibson out for some reason though, they would find quite the nice reward waiting for them, as we can loot a unique sawed-off shotgun called Big Boomer from her person. This gun has a one-of-a-kind design with the words Big Boomer emblazoned on the grip, and the shotgun has more damage than its standard counterparts. It's actually a pretty decent weapon to use. We can also find some in-game files that show an unused texture for the Big Boomer, making it look more similar to Fallout 3's sawed-off shotguns. Whatever the case, many people don't kill Old Lady Gibson to grab this piece, but this is the wasteland. You will need all the help you're gonna get. Shout out to Scooter on the Discord for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, if you head to the tops and confront Benny, Vulpus will engage you as you leave, giving you the mark of Kaisar. If you do this before you go to Nipton, Vulpus will have some unique dialogue.
Oh, I don't know if you recognize me from the strip, when I handed you the mark of Kaisar. I wasn't wearing a dog's head at the time. Don't worry, I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates. It's useful that you happen by. I want you to witness the fate of the town of Nipton, to memorize every detail. And then, when you move on, I want you to teach everyone you meet the lesson that Kaisar's Legion taught here, especially any NCR troops you run across.
In Fallout New Vegas, the area around Vegas proper can be quite dangerous. Raiders, fiends, and various traps await any courier venturing off the beaten path. Just outside the Monte Carlo Suites, we can find one of the rarest explosive traps in New Vegas. On the road next to the suites, this house has a mailbox unlike any other we can find in the Mojave. Notice the telltale spinning antenna protruding from the back. This, to my knowledge, is the only mailbox trap in New Vegas. If the courier gets too close, it will explode unless the proper skills are applied to disarm it. These types of mailbox traps were found in a few places in Fallout 3, but it is not something we see in New Vegas outside of this location. But if you have found any others, let me know in the comments below. In Fallout New Vegas, we can come across all kinds of bugs in our travels. Obsidian added a small detail that I really enjoy, and I have noticed that some people on my live streams do not seem to know about it. When we come across the smallest variant of the giant mantis nymph in New Vegas, because of their size, we can simply walk over them, thus stepping on them and killing the bug instantly. We can find a gang of these creepy crawlies inside the Nevada Highway Patrol building, a great place to brush up on the Bug Stomper challenge. Of course, we wouldn't get away with this with the larger variety of mantis that inhabits the Mojave and Zion. A group large enough could take over places like Camp McCarran or the Strip. The mantis might be the most varied bug in the Fallout series, coming in so many different shapes and sizes. So, if you really don't like my videos, you can go out and stomp on small mantids in the Mojave to take out your frustrations. In Fallout New Vegas, in the remains of Boulder City, we can find the Bighorn Saloon. The owner, Ike, sits behind the bar, hopeful of getting even one customer these days. NCR troopers that occupy the area are discouraged from going to Ike's saloon, so if the courier wears NCR gear when speaking with him, we can get some unique dialogue that puts this into perspective.
Hello. Howdy, trooper. I thought the Bighorn was off limits to you guys, but who am I to complain? Customer's a customer. The workers here don't much like the military. After too many fights and broken noses, the NCR doesn't allow troops to spend time here. That doesn't stop a few people like yourself, of course. Don't worry, I won't say a word.
In Fallout New Vegas, we meet Ringo. In one of the first quests that we receive in-game, we are tasked with helping either Goodsprings or their powder gangers in a dispute over Ringo. It seems the powder gangers from the NCRCF were charging tolls for caravans along the I-15. When they approached Ringo, instead of paying the fee, he tried to shoot his way out of the robbery. He even managed to take down a powder ganger or two on his way out. He made his escape to Goodsprings and held out for about a week before we meet him, biding his time before the inevitable shitstorm coming his way as Joe Cobb seeks revenge for his fallen faction mates. One small detail that gets overlooked is the fact that we can find Ringo's caravan just down the road from Goodsprings, right outside Gene Skydiving and the NCRCF. These Crimson Caravan remains are all that is left of Ringo's group after the attack. While the site is nearly picked clean, there is still some good stuff to find here. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find Vault 34, protected by hordes of golden geckos and mass amounts of toxic waste that seep radiation into anything nearby. Not to mention, once inside, we have the crazed vault dwellers turned ghoul and the copious levels of water that have plunged a lot of the vault into murky darkness. It's a hellscape. The NCR can point us towards this vault with the Hard Luck Blues quest, but you might want to enter the surrounding cave away from the group of geckos. If the courier comes from the north of this area, a top entrance can be found. I've seen people avoid the hole thinking it would lead to instant death, but that is not the case. It just acts as a small shortcut to the vault that allows you to skip some geckos if you want. New Vegas has a ton of alternate entrances and exits, so if you know of any the viewers might not know about, drop a comment on the video to let us know. Thank you to Avery from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC, Dead Money, we end up at the Sierra Madre Casino and Resort, a place both filled with treasures and death. Still, it's home to a few rare items that can only be found within its resort walls. The Casa Madrid kitchen area holds one of these items, the pre-war steak, a cut of beef that has been preserved since before the Great War. A random amount of steaks will show up in the meat lockers in this area. Taking a look at them in our inventory, they don't quite live up to a good old Brahmin steak and even cause a -1 endurance debuff. Regardless, rare item collectors like myself, pun very much intended, will want to grab this meat anytime they play through Dead Money, only to leave it in the fridge of our player home, never to be seen again. In Fallout New Vegas, if you find yourself inside the Lucky 38 suite, you can grab one of the rarest drinks in the whole game. For those of us who leave the room the way it is and don't think twice about the various items strewn about, we likely miss this one-of-a-kind consumable altogether. Nestled next to a ham radio and its much more common and visibly identical counterpart, a bottle of scotch, we can find this Jake juice, the only item of its kind in Fallout New Vegas. According to the wiki, it's named this way to reflect a Jamaican ginger extract known as Jake. This medicine was used in Prohibition times and often held 80% of its weight as ethanol. So, in reality, this Jake juice would knock your dick in the dirt faster than most things you could find in New Vegas. In game though, it's identical to scotch. I think it's best to leave it just where it is due to its rarity, an excellent conversation piece for Cass. The story of Fallout New Vegas follows the courier after they get shot in the head by Benny Gecko while en route to deliver the platinum chip to Mr. House. If the player chooses to be female and sleeps with Benny, they will be given a love note that may imply a hidden foot fetish that Benny has. The note, called "Thanks Baby," reads as follows. Pussycat, thanks for showing this cat the best hey he's ever. Talk about platinum in the sack, toots. Where'd you learn that 18-karat trick with the heels of your feet? You didn't just make my toes curl, they popped off and rolled under the bed. I wish I could stay for another round, but this gent's got places to be, things to do. You showing up has forced my hand, baby. The time to act is now. I won't be around for a while, but if everything works out right, you and me are a date. Got it? Wouldn't miss it for all the caps in Vegas. Now don't get clingy and try following me. Ciao, Benny. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find a ton of items that do not really serve much more of a purpose other than just being a good find, and the King's School of Impersonation hosts a good chunk of these. We can find a small putting setup on the second floor complete with a 9-iron and golf balls. Usually, we wouldn't think too much about this, just a cute little environmental story being told, but these golf balls are actually quite rare, this being one of only 2 locations they can be found. The other spot we can find these is the X8 Research Center's Institutional Test Facility, a school set built to host different tests we can find in the Big Mountain Complex. The golf balls we find here seem to be a bit larger than they should be, which is quite interesting. Regardless, these are the only places we can find these balls, with a total of 7 being present in the game. You never know when half a dozen golf balls will come in handy, and you will be prepared. A user in the Discord server posted a few pictures of the Ranger Station Charlie sign and was wondering about the meaning behind the back of this sign, which seems to have some unique textures. We can see the NCR salvaged some planks from this location and painted the blank backside to make the Ranger Station Charlie sign. This actually paints a detailed story that the devs certainly didn't have to put the work into, as many people will likely miss it. At the bottom of the mismatched planks, we can see it says Trailer Park Pines. This was the name of the location pre-war. As we can see, the NCR used these trailers to build a nice ranger fort outside of Novak. This is just the kind of little attention to detail that really staples the Fallout series. Something so hidden and obscure, easily missed, but it tells such a simple story, giving us that much more immersion into this great game world. This was suggested by Johnny Boy on the Discord. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC Dead Money, the courier heads to the Sierra Madre Casino after following a radio signal. Once there, we learn quite a bit about the area and the people who inhabited it. This whole place was built to protect a woman named Vera Keyes from the war. Her voice fills the hallowed resort and holograms of the starlit litter the area. We can find her final resting place next to the elevator that leads to the vault. The man who built all of this can be found as well. After learning Vera planned on robbing the casino with Dean Domino, Sinclair planned on locking her away with her own greed. Still, once he found out that Dean was blackmailing Vera, he tried to roll his plan back. This is why we can find a holotape that has been ripped out of the vault terminal. Not too far away, we can see the founder's remains in Sinclair's bag. Just an excellent little detail that ties the whole story together. In Fallout New Vegas, if you use console commands to warp to the Lucky 38 penthouse before visiting New Vegas proper, you can come across a somewhat surprising sight. We will find an empty penthouse filled with liminality. The only person here is an eerie human NPC version of Mr. House. He looks nothing like he should. He uses a generic male voice and has pretty much no dialogue.
What do you need? Bye.
One could say this is just a placeholder for Mr. House, but even that doesn't really make sense to me. What would be the purpose? We would never see this in game, so unless New Vegas needs to mark Mr. House as being in the Lucky 38 indefinitely, the whole thing comes off as spooky at the very least. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC Lonesome Road, we travel to the Divide and learn a lot about ourselves along the way. One thing about Lonesome Road that gets overlooked quite often is the fact that Ulysses, the courier we meet here, watches us from the jump. In at least 2 locations, we can see this for ourselves. Though I have heard rumors of other places to spot Ulysses, these are the 2 I can confirm. First, we can see Ulysses while heading towards the Crow's Nest. He will be overlooking the broken highway and staring a hole through us while doing so. The second time we can see him is by the Sunstone Tower. After he speaks through Eddie, we can see him walking off in the distance. This is an incredibly cool small detail that really drives the character of Ulysses home. If you know for sure of any other places we can spot him, let me know on Discord in the video suggestions with a screenshot or something like that, and I will update the video. As far as I know, these are the only 2 locations to see him. This one was suggested by Oblivion Walker on the Discord. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC Lonesome Road, there is an item that many people miss entirely, mainly because it looks like an object we usually wouldn't be able to loot. The Roughin' It bedroll is perhaps one of the best items in the game. They can also fetch a pretty penny when doing some merchant runs, as you only need one bedroll and there are 3 throughout the Divide. The first one we can find is above the entrance to the Hopeville silo, nestled between a car and a hard place. The second one we can locate is at the ruined highway interchange, leaning against a median. Then, third and finally, we can find one in a makeshift stone hut around the Ashton Silo control station. These bedrolls will allow you to sleep pretty much anywhere you want, meaning you can heal yourself and get some rest around Lonesome Road, which helps out quite a bit. All you have to do is select it in your Pip-Boy and catch some Z's. Not something you want to leave behind the next time you visit the Divide. Thank you to House from the Discord server for suggesting this one. Fallout New Vegas held the record for most dialogue recorded in a video game at the time of release. That's quite the feat. Judging how much unique dialogue we find in the game, it's not hard to believe. Some of these interactions can be found by pointing your gun at various companions that you can recruit in your adventures around the Mojave.
How about I aim my gun at you for a while, see how you like it?
Why do we always hurt the ones we care about the most?
I assure you, you look extremely virile. Now, would you mind pointing that somewhere else? Thanks.
Don't like no one drawing a bead on me.
Leo doesn't like that theory. You should stop.
You want to point that someplace else, boss? I got enough holes in me.
In Fallout New Vegas, one of the unique weapons we can find is inside the Dinobite gift shop storage. Simply known as That Gun, it's a powerful 5.56 pistol and, by a large margin, my favorite in the game. This isn't the first time we have seen the handgun in the Fallout series, which is why it has such a strange name, as most classic Fallout fans referred to the previous version of the weapon as That Gun. In the first Fallout game, we could receive the 223 pistol from a quest, but by the time we hit Fallout 2, the gun is no longer unique. This version of the weapon uses a different caliber of ammo, but the design remains the same. That is because these guns are based on Deckard's pistol in Blade Runner, making this not only one of the best handguns in the game, but one hell of a great movie reference as well. In the Old World Blues DLC for Fallout New Vegas, we can explore Big Mountain. The location is one of the most advanced in the Fallout universe. It holds many surprises, secrets, and exciting characters in its midst. One of my Discord members pointed out that we can find a dead followers doctor on the sink roof. The overwhelming amount of technology and scientific experiments could be why we see this poor follower here. The followers are passionate about many forms of research, including human longevity, which could be what brought this cursed soul to their doom. You can actually get to this doctor and loot him by expertly jumping up the ramps by the entrance. On his corpse, you can find a doctor's coat, a super stim pack, and a few regular stim packs. Still, the most interesting thing about this person is wondering just what brought them here and how they met their end. My best guess is they were trying to find a way into the sink but got stopped fast by the advanced security measures. Or got shot by a lobotomite. A cruel fate. Big thanks to Nasser on the Discord for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, you will meet the boomers at Nellis Air Force Base. Their primary focus at the moment is raising the Lady in the Water, a crashed B-29 bomber that is on the surface of Lake Mead. Going through the quest Volare, we'll see the courier use inflation devices to raise it from the lake, and Loyal will state that the boomers are sending robots to clean up the parts. As we can see beforehand, the boomers already have a bomber in their hangar. But this one was found in the old museum and they can only use it for parts. The one in Lake Mead is pretty much entirely intact. After some time in game, we can see the boomers repairing the plane to complete working order, something a lot of people miss because very few come back to Nellis after helping the boomers. Another small detail that doesn't have to be in the game, but makes the world have that much more depth. You gotta love things like this. Thank you to Sniper65615 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the first things you will deal with is the Good Springs tutorial, which ends with a quest that sees you either protect the town from powder gangers or help the gang take the settlement. One thing many people don't do is take out Joe Cobb before anything is said and done. In fact, it's looked down upon by the townsfolk to do so. But if we do, we will get this unique, nervous dialogue from Ringo.
Thanks, I guess. Cobb wasn't the problem, though. I could have handled him if he ever found me. Cobb's friends are the bigger problem. And when he doesn't get back, they'll be coming here for blood. There's no way I can fight them all. I'm gonna lay low for as long as I can, assuming the town doesn't throw me to the wolves. I've got no chance against the gang on my own.
In the Fallout New Vegas DLC Lonesome Road, the courier is regularly beckoned by Ulysses, who holds quite the grudge against us throughout our Mojave adventure. In the middle of the high road, many people know about the advanced riot gear perched high in the crow's nest, being worn by a dead ghoul NCR riot control officer. The great thing about this armor set is that it can be used to repair an even better outfit later on in the Divide. We can find another dead ghoul NCR riot control officer on the top floor of the 3rd Street Municipal Building, except this one is donned with the elite riot gear version of this great armor, making it significantly better than the previous set that we found. What's truly fantastic about both of these armors is that they are faction neutral. This means that if you don't feel quite right about putting on an NCR uniform, but still can't deny how amazingly awesome the riot gear is, you can still throw it on and look your best throughout the rest of the Mojave. In Fallout New Vegas, just west of Old Lady Gibson's scrapyard, we can find an unmarked location called Gibson's Shack. Typically, players would visit this shack during Veronica's quest due to the terminal that's inside. We are looking at a different item found in this shack today, as pinned to the wall with a machete is a severed finger, the only finger we can find in Fallout New Vegas to be precise. In Fallout 3, we could find these on evil characters with the Lawbringer perk, turning them into Sonora Crews at Regulator HQ for a few caps and a karma boost. New Vegas does not have this system, so this is the only place we can find this finger. I like to look at it as Obsidian hinting that an evil character was killed here. Still, more than likely, it was whoever the skeleton belonged to on the bed, probably caught off guard by raiders who ransacked the place. Or maybe, just maybe, there's a little more to Old Lady Gibson than meets the eye. Still, this finger is one more unique item that you can add to your collection in Fallout New Vegas. Everyone who has played Fallout New Vegas knows that gambling is a fun feature to be found at the casinos on the Strip. In fact, there is even an achievement for reaching the max winnings at all 3 of the major casinos in New Vegas proper. From what I have seen, many people seem to be unaware that you can gamble and get banned from lesser venues. While most people know that the Atomic Wrangler hosts games, it's when we come to the Vicky and Vance Casino in Prim that most players seem to be in the dark. This is likely because of how long of a process it is for the Vicky and Vance to open this feature to the courier. First, one would have to clear Prim of the convicts. Then, finishing the quest My Kind of Town would be a great next step. After a few days in game, a gang of NCR deserters will show up as an encounter in the casino. After dispatching them, you would still have to pass another few days in game before Vicky and Vance start to take your business. Due to this long process of revisiting Prim, most players never see that you can gamble here, as usually people stop going back to Prim after My Kind of Town is complete. So get out there and make that bread. In Fallout New Vegas, we can come across The One, an undetonated nuclear bomb in the middle of the desert. The thing I want to talk about is the branding on the side of this particular doomsday device. Looking closely, we can see what looks like a simplified, low quality, or even modified Vault-Tec logo. While this encounter requires the Wild Wasteland perk and thus shouldn't necessarily be taken as canon, it's still interesting to see this on the side of the bomb. It has been a long time theory that Vault-Tec, in hand with the Enclave, kicked off the Great War to get their missions in motion. This was to be confirmed in the cancelled Fallout movie, where it would have been revealed that Vault-Tec launched the first strike. While the placement of this bomb can be easily explained with the Wild Wasteland perk, the bomb's design doesn't have to be held to those same standards. I like to think that this is the one that started the war, hence the name of the encounter. That is why it's branded with a logo resembling Vault-Tec, perhaps a nuclear division we haven't even seen. In Fallout New Vegas, many of the groups and factions wear identifying outfits. These clothes are suitable for showing friends that they belong, or showing enemies that they never should have come here. While larger groups like Caesar's Legion and the NCR may seem like the obvious choice for would-be cosplayers, smaller groups like the Powder Gangers offer the same scenario. If we manage to get our hands on their garb, people around the Mojave will think we're a part of the group. We can use this to get some unique dialogue out of Deputy Beagle, who's being held captive at the Bison Steve in Prim. He will have this to say if we approach him wearing a Powder Ganger outfit.
I told you Powder Ganger's everything I know. Please don't hit me anymore. Well, look at that. You weren't a Powder Ganger after all. I'd suggest against wearing that outfit around the townsfolk. You may get shot by accident. I don't suppose you came here to rescue me?
While playing Fallout New Vegas, you may hear some crazy sounds that you can't quite place. These electronic, static-filled noises sometimes sound like a distorted scream. They often confused me through my playthroughs, but recently I've discovered the source of these noises. The first one is easy to identify, a glitchy-sounding slide guitar track. We can track this down to the Hawaiian hula girl found in many places throughout the wasteland. It's a shame we can't collect these, as it'd be fun to hoard all the hula girls in the game. The second noise that escaped me for quite some time actually comes from a pretty obvious source. The distorted scream, or roar, is generated by the dino toys that litter the Mojave. For years I thought my game was haunted when I would hear this dino noise until I finally figured out where it was coming from. Good to know it wasn't just some spooky glitch. In Fallout New Vegas, Doc Mitchell's house is the first place we gain control of the courier. The good doctor has spent the last couple of days nursing us back to health, and he will get players ready for the upcoming adventure in the Mojave. One of the most noticeable things about Bethesda games is the Gamebryo engine, now known as the Creation Engine. Fallout New Vegas was developed by Obsidian using this game engine. Because of this, we can find a lot of dev tricks that we see in other Bethesda games. We can find one here in Doc Mitchell's house. If we no-clip through the roof and locate this note, we can see that it's a placeholder for the hardcore mode explanation. This typically pops up as we leave the house while talking to Mitchell on the way out, but we can also trigger it this way. This is placed here because the Gamebryo engine needs a reference point for the dialogue on screen, so the developers hide it outside of the map to keep everything tidy. In Fallout New Vegas, we can get a few different kinds of explosive weapons. Grenades, launchers, and mines can be found all over the Mojave, and we can gather quite a collection during our adventures. New Vegas also has a bit of cut content, and one of the weapons that was cut from the Old World Blues DLC would have been pretty funny to use out in the wasteland. The meat mine is a weapon that functions exactly like a standard frag mine. The difference is that these explosives look like a steak that's just waiting to be devoured. This would have been used to defeat Gabe easier when scavenging through his lair. The giant dog would have been drawn to the meat, and the resulting explosion would weaken him. This was ultimately cut from the final game, but we can still get our hands on the meat mine with a mod. These mines would have brought some silly fun to the Mojave, so it's nice to see what could have been. While checking Twitter this morning, I got a ping from my friend Nurbit. He had mentioned an item in his latest video, and a lot of people didn't know about it, so it was suggested I cover the topic. In Fallout New Vegas, the courier finds themselves in a sticky situation at the Goodsprings Cemetery with the Cons and Benny. Notice that Benny is smoking a cigarette. That is a crucial detail of this video. Once we are free to explore the Mojave, if we return to the cemetery where Victor found us, we can find 10 distinctive cigarette butts. Benny left these and then can be used to confront him when we meet Swank at the Tops Casino. Another item we can find through the cons is Benny's lighter, which serves a similar purpose.
Huh. Well, yeah, okay, these are Benny's brand and they ain't too common. You got anything else? Yeah, that looks like Benny's lighter, all right. Still, not exactly a ton of proof. Got anything else, kid?
In Fallout New Vegas, one of the locations we can visit is the Old Mormon Fort in Freeside. This is home to the followers of the Apocalypse and their regional administrator, Julie Farkas. Julie helps the area of Freeside the best she can, and this includes the courier, as she will treat our wounds and sell what medical supplies she has. If the courier asks for help with very low health, we will get some unique dialogue from the doctor.
Okay, what level of care do you require? I'm amazed you managed to limp here with your legs like that. I didn't think red, purple, and swollen was your natural eye color. I can fix that right up. How have you been using the bathroom with your arms that messed up? Oh, forget I asked. Oof. You might want to brace yourself. This might get a bit painful. This should help with the pain.
Evening. Thank you to Ulysses from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, when you find yourself on the Strip, it is easy to get distracted by the many neon-soaked temples of debauchery that can be found here. One thing a lot of people overlook, perhaps because of these temptations pulling them every which way, is the magazine vending machines that occupy the center block of the Strip. Understandably, a courier walking through the hustle and bustle of New Vegas could be forgiven for thinking that these were merely static set pieces, but that isn't the case. Suppose we approach a set of vending machines. In that case, we can get a random skill magazine from each one by activating it. totaling 9 in the entire game, all entirely located on the New Vegas Strip. These machines are a one-time use thing though, so we won't be spamming it to get a vast collection of skill magazines. Still, it is nice to get what you can in the Fallout series, and you can always find a use for these magazines, even if it's just making a few caps off of them. Thank you to Ranger of the Mojave from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, there are a ton of raider gangs that will try and accost the courier at any chance they get. The Fiends, the Vipers, and the Jackals are just a few of the groups of riffraff that you will likely find roaming the Mojave, and they can cause quite a bit of trouble. However, there is one NPC that we can find in the game that shares no allegiance to these groups as far as we can tell, and her body can be found on the overpass by Novak. Simply called Raider, she is the only NPC in the game to have this name. While we see a bunch of raiders in Fallout 3, by the time we hit New Vegas, all of them are named after the faction they belong to, like the 3 I previously mentioned. Presumably, this raider was heading towards Novak, and either Boone or Manny took her out before she was a problem. This is an excellent piece of environmental storytelling and an exciting find for people into rare encounters. Shout out to Kyrosian Crane on the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, traveling through the Drury Street Metro, we can find the Drury Street Tunnels. This acts as the operating station for Ryan Brigg, a scientist acting as a raider who has been making jerky from mole rat meat and wonder glue. According to his terminal here, it makes the meat far more desirable. He has big plans to sell it around the Capital Wasteland too. Unfortunately, Ryan is hostile to the Lone Wanderer, and we don't get to see his mission realized. But we can still use his meat box to craft our own mole rat wonder meat if we have the ingredients needed. Strangely, we can find one singular piece of mole rat wonder meat in Fallout New Vegas. The journey will take us to Cannibal Johnson's cave. Inside, next to a knife by the fire, we can find the ultra rare slab of meat. Pun very much intended. Who knows how it found its way inside Johnson's Haven? Perhaps the old timer figured out the recipe for himself. Regardless of how it got here, rare item hunters should be making this a required stop in any of their playthroughs. In Fallout New Vegas, during the introduction video to the game, we see the New Vegas Strip. The difference here is that we see an earlier rendition of the Strip, one without the gates that separate it into 3 sections. This was how the Strip was originally going to look in New Vegas. Due to memory restrictions, the developers were forced to add the gates to keep the game stable. Today, over a decade after the release of New Vegas, newer computers can still have trouble opening up the Strip like this, which speaks to the devs' reasoning for the split. Still, coming into New Vegas with everything opened up like this is a very nice touch. Seeing all the way down the road, you can really take in the scope of what post-war Vegas has to offer. What we got in the final game worked just fine. The solution to the memory issue felt lore-friendly and allowed us to travel the Strip lag-free, while keeping the game stable. Looking back at the original design is neat, as we can see what could have been, and New Vegas as a city looks far more impressive. Thanks to Kevin the Dragon from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, while at Camp McCarran, we can find many things to get up to that will bolster our rep with the NCR. One overlooked NPC is Corporal William Farber, located in the mess hall inside the concourse at the pre-war airport. Helping him out will boost morale for the NCR through better meals, and we will be able to buy quite a nice bit of fresh food and water from Farber directly as well. We learn that he needs the food processor fixed, some spice to perk up the spirits, and a steady meat delivery. While there are a few ways to get these things done, you can pass a repair check for the food processor and speak with the Crimson Caravan to get a good meat run going with higher speech and barter. The only thing left is a little something to perk up the troops. This will take us to the infamous Vault 22, where we can find this food additive in the food processing area. Bringing this back to Farber will complete his unmarked quest and open an excellent selection in his inventory, which is well worth it every time you are going for an NCR run. Thanks to Tim from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, there are plenty of valleys, dry lakes, and caves just waiting for explorers to find the treasures they hide. The Mojave Wasteland, though vast and open, still has a host of things to find for those who catch the wanderlust. Inside the stunning Fire Root Cavern, there is one rare item that many people miss because of the fearsome lizards that guard the cave, and the clever hiding spot from whoever left it. Among the overgrown plants and guarded by the legendary fire gecko, we can find the only evil gnome that Fallout New Vegas offers. While the standard gnomes look how we would expect, This figure is wearing black rimmed glasses and has a more elaborate beard with darker hair. This is a reference to Scott Everetts, the lead world builder of New Vegas, as in the game files, the gnome is referred to as Scott E. Gnome and bears a resemblance to the man himself. Fallout as a series has never been shy about self-referencing and having fun with the developers, and this gnome is a great way to show love for one of the leads of New Vegas, so make sure to give Scott a good home the next time you are scavenging around Fireroot Cavern. Thank you to Ranon from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find some of the most unique weapons in the series. The Mojave is great at hiding fun things to collect, and the various one-of-a-kind weapons are just the tip of the iceberg. At Mick and Ralph's, we can find a few of these, but one has a bit more going on than meets the eye. When speaking to Mick, we can buy the Nuka Breaker, a unique melee weapon made from an old Nuka-Cola sign. This is a nod to the fan-created web series Nuka Break. Ironically enough, the creators of the series saw an early screenshot of the sign from an advertisement for the GRA DLC and put it in their show. This means that the devs of New Vegas, some of which appeared in Nuka Break, liked the show so much they paid homage to it with this weapon. Still, before it was added to the game proper, the creative minds behind the Nuka Break series added the same sign to the show, eventually having it used in battle. It's great to see the Fallout developers adding references to fan-created media. It makes the community feel awesome to be a part of, and the Nuka Break show is one of the best Fallout stories out there. I highly recommend watching it if you haven't already. In Fallout New Vegas, deep in the belly of Hoover Dam, we can find the offices. Various staff mill about the area looking for something to do. But behind the door marked with a radiation warning, we can find a nice treat in this otherwise dull workplace. Upon first inspection, nothing seems special about this room, just some toxic waste barrels and large storage crates. Still, to the left of the entrance, if we search the wooden boxes, we can find the only 2 sets of Chinese stealth armor that exists in the game, besides the decommissioned one in Old World Blues, likely used to create the American Stealth Suit Mark II. These suits are an older model than the ones found in Fallout 3 and around the Anchorage simulation, and they do not produce an invisibility cloak, which could hint that they are tied to the cancelled Fallout 3 project known as Van Buren, which would have seen Chinese infiltrators sealed inside a sublevel of the dam. These suits could have belonged to them, but Van Buren is non-canon, so we can only assume. Still, these suits are a perfect find for rare item collectors, and they will likely be missed entirely by most people due to how tucked away they are. In Fallout New Vegas, the devs did a lot to ensure people were discouraged from mad dashing to the shiny beacon that is the Strip. This is why when heading through Sloan, Chomps will stop you and have this to say.
Hold up. There are death claws all over the damn place north of here. I'd turn back if I were you. If you want to get to New Vegas, you're better off heading east from Prim and then looping north. It's a heck of a lot safer.
If we come from the north, however, Chomps will have some unique dialogue and be impressed with the courier.
Can't believe anyone actually made it through from the north, what with all the death claws at the quarry. You returning from New Vegas? They moved into the quarry after the powder gangers came through and made off with most of our dynamite. We shut the quarry down while we waited for the NCR to get us some more blasting sticks, but now the death claws have shown up. The NCR's a no-show, and my men and I have got nothing to do but sit on our asses all day. It's damn frustrating.
In Fallout New Vegas, at Black Mountain, we find the prison building, which holds Raoul, a possible companion for the courier. Just outside his room, we can see this toy car, which at first glance doesn't seem like anything special. If we look through the terminal on the same table, we can see some logs from the ghoul prisoner that shed some light on this car. It belonged to a night kid named Cuddles, who was very persistent to Raoul about getting it fixed, going as far as to bring gas to help with the project, a significant feat in the Fallout universe. Raoul was either not interested in the project or couldn't fix the toy, which led to Cuddles attacking the ghoul and Tabitha killing the Nightkin to save the only mechanic she had access to. After reading through these entries, the toy car will now be renamed Cuddles Toy Car, making it quite the unique item for hunters like myself. But that isn't the only one we can find. At the Long 15, we can find another Cuddles Toy Car, next to a standard variant. These are out of reach by normal means and would require no clipping to collect them, so we can count the one found at Black Mountain as a unique item. One man's failed project is another man's treasure. Thank you to GHG from the Discord server for suggesting this one. If you have Discord and want to chat about Fallout and other games, consider checking out the community Discord link in the description. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the most underutilized areas is the underwater landscape around the Mojave. While we see fish and nice looking aquatic plants, we can't find a whole lot in the form of treasures while in the depths of the water. Around the area next to the scavenger platform, we can find something interesting and a little reward for diving couriers. We see a crashed Sunset Sarsaparilla truck. Inside, we see it was carrying a sizable load of the drinks. While we can find 3-star bottle caps down here, the more interesting fact to me is that the Sunset bottles are unique to this area. These are the only empty bottles that will sink, presumably to set up the scene for the truck. Carrying one of the bottles out of the water, we can throw it back in to see it slowly sink to the bottom. In contrast, it will float on the surface if we do the same with a typical empty Sunset Sarsaparilla bottle. This is just a tiny detail that I find very interesting, and for people looking for special items in the game, this sunken truck has quite a bit to offer. In Fallout New Vegas, the Honest Hearts DLC will take us to Zion and introduce the conflict between the tribes that call the area home. We will also meet one of the most memorable characters in New Vegas, Joshua Graham. The burned man spends his time reading the Bible and preparing guns for his tribe. The courier will have the option to side with Graham at the close of the DLC, which sees the courier and Joshua mow through hostile tribals to secure Zion. Suppose the player asks Joshua Graham to use melee combat in this sequence. In that case, he will start using his trademark 45, a light shining in darkness, as a melee weapon, smacking enemies with the butt of the gun. This is an actual in-game item called Joshua's Pistol Whippin' 45. Through standard gameplay, the player can never obtain this weapon. Still on PC, we can add it to our inventory with the use of console commands. The Lights Out special attack does tremendous damage to anything in front of you when using this weapon. While it may not be the strongest melee weapon in the game, it is by far one of the most satisfying to use. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the most ignored areas in the Mojave are the sewers that run underground across the Vegas area. Home to giant rats, ghouls, and aggressive humans, it makes sense so many people avoid the dank underbelly of the city. This doesn't mean that good things can't be found in the sewers, as if we locate Luke here in the central area, we can find a key known as Luke's Find. This key can also be found here in the east central sewers on Jill. The key will open the door to the sealed sewers, which leads to a chamber guarded by a large group of ghouls, but lying amongst them is a prospector that has exactly what we are looking for. The Humble Cudgel is a unique lead pipe with a decent damage boost. The pipe is in much better condition than its standard counterpart, and it features a T-split that almost mimics a hammer. The best part of this unique pipe is the special attack that comes with it, called Lights Out. You can perform this move by moving forward and doing a power attack, or by choosing it in VATS. This will do 125% damage and has amazing results, so the Cudgel is a must-have for any melee builds. This was suggested by Nasser on the Discord. He had a message for his friend as well, which was, "Come to Brazil, Brett." In Fallout New Vegas, one of the factions we can interact with is the Great Khans. If you establish a good relationship with them and then travel to Nelson, you can kick off a line of events that can make you the absolute leader of the tribe. Speaking with Dead Sea, we can get a quest to attack Camp Forlorn Hope. All we have to do is take out all the officers at the camp and return to Dead Sea. Once that is completed, we have to head to Red Rock Canyon. Speaking with Papa Khan, he will be so impressed with what we did that he will name the courier his heir in the Khans, making you next in line for leadership. Now all we have to do is take out Papa Khan silently, and the tribe is ours. Speaking with Regis, we can even decide the future of the Great Khans. There's an option to fight everyone, sending them to fight it out against both factions at the dam if we so wish. This is another way to quickly get the Khans to side with the NCR as well.
Well, that's the end of that.
A lot of people have suggested this for a video on Discord and in the YouTube comments. In Fallout New Vegas, we can meet a variety of creatures that call the Mojave home. From fierce cazadores to lowly radroaches, the wasteland has no shortage of hostile monsters for the courier to find. One of the most common Mojave animals is the gecko. While it comes in many colors and sizes, these monster lizards should not be taken lightly if discovered in your adventures. One thing that some players miss, due to the geckos being hostile and the scarcity of water in the desert, is the fact that these mutated reptiles actually have a unique swimming animation. Like most creatures in Fallout New Vegas, the gecko will float in water when found in wet areas, but if the liquid is deep enough, we can see the geckos use this animation to become more hydrodynamic. This is not only a cute animation, but it is pretty accurate to how lizards swim in the real world, adding a bit of fun realism to the otherwise larger-than-life specimen. While rare, it is possible to catch geckos in Fallout New Vegas going for a swim, but keep your distance, as they won't be relaxing for long if the courier decides to join them for a dip in the pool. In Fallout New Vegas, we meet Boone, a grizzled NCR vet who has seen his fair share of action. This, combined with the loss of his wife, Carla, has made him about as cold as you can be in the Mojave. The NCR has a policy that in the event their personnel die in action, they must have a letter to be passed on to their friends, family, or loved ones. Craig Boone is no different, and if he does die after being recruited as a companion, we can find the letter "For Carla" on his body. It reads, "Carla, if you're reading this, then you know. Sorry. Wanted to make it back home to you. The pension won't be much, but it should help you and the baby get by. Want you to remarry when you meet the right person. Don't want you to have to be on your own. Not sure the right way to say how I feel about you. Think you know already though. Always seemed like you knew what I meant, maybe better than I did. Wish I was there with you now. There are things I couldn't tell you. Tried. Whatever you learn over time about my service in the NCR, hope you can forgive me. Lastly, know you were against it, but if it's a girl, want her to be named after her mother. Know it's playing dirty to win the argument this way, but too bad. It's worth it. Craig." In Fallout New Vegas, during the quest Oh My Papa, which will see the courier deciding the fate of the Great Khans, we can talk to Julie Farkas and hear her suggestions about the group. Julie will point us in the direction of Ezekiel, a member of the Followers of the Apocalypse who has studied the subject more than others. Only by doing this quest and speaking with Farkas can we unlock some unique dialogue that calls back to the first two Fallout games. When speaking to Ezekiel, he will tell us about how the Vault Dweller destroyed the Khans and that years later, they were wiped out again, which follows the quest we can do in Fallout and Fallout 2, as the Chosen One would wipe out the Khans in Vault 15.
Oh my, yes, they're a fascinating tribe with a long and unfortunately tragic history. Their original incarnation, much farther out west, was almost completely wiped out by one of those itinerant heroes so common in the post-war years. Then, of course, the new Khans suffered a similar fate, some say at the hands of the same hero, though of course the dates are all wrong for that.
Thank you to Draker the Heartbreaker from the Discord server for pointing me in the right direction on this one. In Fallout 3, the decimated capital wasteland hosts many things to discover. Broken streets, shattered buildings, but every once in a while, something in the waste can still function the way it used to. The fire hydrants that stand guard on the once busy suburban sidewalks fit this bill perfectly. As in Fallout 3, these hydrants can be activated, which will cause the lone wanderer to drink from them, a task that doesn't make much sense considering what is needed to produce water from one of the pre-war devices. You would need a wrench or something similar and a working water supply. But this is a video game, so it can be overlooked as a fun source of HP at the cost of some rad levels. New Vegas, however, isn't buying into this idea. If we try to drink from the hydrants we find in the Mojave, the option will no longer be there. It's hard to say why the devs ultimately decided to cut this feature. Still, it could have been what I mentioned before, that the interaction just didn't make a whole lot of sense. So while you may be used to the flowing water of the capital hydrants, be wary in the Mojave. If you want a quick drink, a toilet would likely be a stronger candidate. In Fallout New Vegas, we can come across the Sunset Sarsaparilla headquarters. Guarded by Ol Festus and a few Protectrons, this location acted as a bottling plant and operating facility for the pre-war drink. Still, after all these years, a beloved employee remains. Inside the maintenance closet, we can find Mr. Janitor. This Mr. Handy model was used to clean the building before the Great War, and he is still in remarkable condition. Hacking the average locked terminal on the other side of the room will allow us to start Mr. Janitor's routine. This can be quite rewarding for people who have the patience to let him finish his job. The robot will begin making rounds through the Sunset Sarsaparilla HQ, visiting rooms and cleaning up all that he can find. After his route is finished, he will stop at a garbage can and empty all he collected, wishing farewell to the rubbish. This being a bottling plant, most of what Mr. Janitor has picked up consists of caps, the currency of the wasteland. He will deposit a random amount of caps into the trash can. Still, the number is usually decently high, so this is a great way to get a nice boost when you make it to this area, and Mr. Janitor is happy to do the heavy lifting for you. In Fallout New Vegas, we can visit the Boomers at Nellis Air Force Base. This hermit group has a lot going on, and one of the most mysterious projects they have, we do not even have access to. Inside the mess hall, we can find some VR pods. When asked about them, the Boomers will not allow the courier to use them. leaving the pods a mystery for every player that has come through Nellis. The VR stations are used as flight simulators. The boomers train on these to be prepared for the day that they raise the crashed bomber out of Lake Mead and take to the skies. Still, the screens show a familiar image if we look closely at these pods. We can see Tranquility Lane, much like we could in Vault 112 in Fallout 3. This is very likely just a case of devs reusing assets like the VR pods and not changing the picture on the screen. Though it is fun to think about the boomers having access to Tranquility Lane after the Lone Wanderer shut things down. Using the pods to get some peace from the ravaged war zone they live in sounds pretty nice, but I'm going with the reused asset theory on this one. This has been suggested by a few people, but most recently by Doom from Shroom on the Discord server. In Fallout New Vegas, if you decide to go with the Legion, after a few quests, Caesar will need to lie down after his head starts to hurt. This will prompt him to retire to his bed, but you can still talk to him during this state.
God damn it, go away! Come back when I've had some sleep. Disturb me again, and I'll have you killed.
This threat is not an empty one, as if we wake Caesar up one more time, he will turn the entire Legion army against us, no matter how good of a reputation we've built up. I'm sure we have all felt like doing something like this once in our life after being woken up, but Caesar just has the resources to make it happen.
I warned you not to bother me! Praetorians, kill this asshole! Another kill to my name! You like that?
In Fallout New Vegas, when we reach the fort, the base of the Legion, we can meet many interesting characters. One of the more easily missed NPCs is Melody, an enslaved child inside the Brahmin pen. Understandably, Melody isn't too open to talking to the courier at first. Still, if we pass some checks in the conversation, she will confide in us that she is missing one of her only comforts, Sergeant Teddy. Talking to Anthony, we can fight a few of his dogs in the arena for the bear, or we could simply pass a 50 barter check. The animal friend perk works here as well, though Anthony will be disappointed. Now that we have Sergeant Teddy, we have a couple of choices. We can either give the bear to Melody, passing the quest and gaining karma, or, as is the topic of the video, do the meanest thing possible in Fallout New Vegas. In somewhat of a callback to Fallout 2, where the Chosen One could destroy Mr. Nixon doll found outside Vault City, the courier can tear apart the stuffed bear in front of Melody. This, of course, will result in negative karma, but a boost in Legion reputation. 100% worth it every playthrough.
I don't want to talk to you. I hate you.
Thank you to Isole and Appius for suggesting this one on the Discord server. In Fallout New Vegas, we can go to Sunny Smiles and Good Springs for a nice rundown of life in the Mojave. During this, a few opportunities for unique dialogue will show up. First, the Good Springs settler being attacked by geckos will raise our rep with the town and gift us water after saving her. This is a nice little boost to have so early in the game, especially if you plan on helping Ringo.
Holy moly. If you hadn't come here like you done, I'd be a goner for sure. I came up here to draw water, but here, you should have what I got. You look thirsty.
As for the topic of the video, if Sunny's dog Cheyenne dies in combat, we will receive some understandable unique dialogue from her.
Confound it, Cheyenne. Why'd you have to go running in like that? You were supposed to stay. I'm sorry, you shouldn't have to see me like this. I'm not gonna be very good company right now. I did have another thing to teach, but I'll understand if you'd rather I just pay you so you could be on your way. Okay. Well, good luck to you. I'm heading back to the Prospector. I could use a drink about now.
Thank you to Cosmo the Wolf from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we assume the role of the courier and go out to look for the man who wronged us in Good Springs. Before we get to that task, we have to build our character, and we can get quite the boost if we play our cards right. When selecting perks, you should pick Skilled and Wild Wasteland. Skilled because we need it for the boost, and in my opinion it's the best perk, and Wild Wasteland because you should always use Wild Wasteland. The Skilled perk will boost all of your skills by 5 points. After this, we want to walk away from Good Springs until prompted to finalize our build. Now, we go back into the character creation process, and when we get to the perks, select Skilled again. And we will see it has stacked, giving us a total of 10 points in every skill, making the first Good Spring quest a breeze. Also, the negative XP does not stack. This can be repeated with the auto dock and Old World Blues as well, which will make a total of 15 skill points when everything is said and done. Most people just confirm their character and move on, missing this boost altogether, but it can really help out, especially so early in the game. Big thanks to Wishes Valentine from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we will meet the Happy Trails caravan when it's time to head to Zion. Based on how we interacted with Alice McLafferty from the Crimson Caravan, Happy Trails leader Jed Masterson will have different dialogue, thanking the courier for getting rid of his competition if you take her out, or being starstruck by seeing Alice's bread and butter walk through the door if you've helped the Crimson Caravan.
Howdy, friend. Heard my little broadcast, did you? Yeah, you look the type. Hang on. Ain't you the one that wiped out the Crimson Caravan's Vegas branch not too long ago? Ought to thank you for that. Knocking McLafferty out of the running gives Happy Trails a market to expand into. Howdy, friend. Heard my little broadcast, did you? Yeah, you look the type. Wait a minute, I recognize you. Yeah, you're Alice McLafferty's rising star, ain't you? You sure you want to be here? McLafferty's non-competes are pretty rigid.
In Fallout New Vegas, choosing a perk when leveling up can be a tough decision. Sometimes people may want to check out something new or find the best boost for their current build. One perk everyone will want to avoid is added with the Dead Money DLC. At first glance, it doesn't seem that bad. Still, due to an error in coding, it should be skipped by every player of New Vegas, the In Shining Armor perk, promising to give the player a +5 damage threshold against energy weapons while wearing any metal armor, and an additional +2 DT when wearing reflective eyewear. This may seem great for fans of metal armor, but in reality, this perk does nothing at all. When the game checks to see what weapon type should be boosted, it gets the term energy as a reply. The problem is, Fallout New Vegas uses the phrase energy weapons instead, meaning that the game has no way to add the damage threshold correctly, completely breaking the perk. So while you may be struggling with what perk to pick the next time you level up in New Vegas, skipping this one is not only recommended, it's required. In Fallout New Vegas, when we travel to the Big Empty, there are plenty of sci-fi shenanigans to get up to. Like much of the Mojave, having the Wild Wasteland perk here adds some great spice to your playthrough, and there is one scene that we can find that calls back to a classic fable. At the construction site near the edge of the map, amongst the crystals protruding from the ground, we can find 7 intact garden gnomes, which are pretty rare outside this encounter. The gnomes have pickaxes and lanterns at their feet, and in the center of the group is a grave. This is one big reference to Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. The garden decorations are arranged to look as if they are mining, the same profession the dwarves from the story have. The grave is likely here to represent Snow White, and inside all we can find is some random ammo. There is some good loot nearby though, as we can grab a Valence Radioscintiator that sits on top of the crane. This is an interesting sight to come across as we are traveling around Big Mountain, and it offers rare item hunters a boost to an otherwise incredibly scarce item with the intact garden gnomes. It just leaves me wondering who is in the grave and what exactly happened to them. In Fallout New Vegas, you may stumble across a pretty curious sight when north of Goodsprings. Chance's map, a crude depiction of the Mojave carved into the ground itself, could be something you have passed by. Sure, it's a marked location and the game will tell you that it's there, but after investigating it and taking the items you might want, the map doesn't seem to really hold much more of a purpose. To me, Chance's map is a memory, a celebration of one of the most disturbed Great Khans and his madness that led to his demise. We learn a bit more about Chance and the map in the All Roads graphic novel, which documents the lead up to Benny ambushing the courier. We see that Chance carved this map with his knife, which he later used to slaughter a whole gang of fiends at the nearby tribal village. After the battle, Chance would lose his life, and the Khans would carry on with Benny without him. All of these things are hinted at in-game as the tribal village, now infested with Cazadores, sits at the bottom of an overlook that holds Chance's grave. Plundering the site will lead to finding Chance's knife, the blood of fiends still stained on the blade. So while some locations may just seem like a quirky post-apocalyptic set piece, remember that even the smallest places can have some of the biggest stories. In Fallout New Vegas, my favorite radio host of the series, Mr. New Vegas, hosts Radio New Vegas. The station features some of the best songs in the Fallout series and some excellent banter from Mr. New Vegas himself. Another one of my favorite things in Fallout New Vegas is the Wild Wasteland trait. Taking this when starting a playthrough is highly recommended by me, as it will litter your Fallout experience with the same kind of humor that can be found in the classic games. One of the things Wild Wasteland will do is add some unique lines to Mr. New Vegas. Some lines contain references to other media and pop culture, while others are just humorous ramblings.
You know, I tried to measure my charisma on a Vitomatic vigor tester once. The machine burst into flames. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. New Vegas. Thank you very, very much for listening. Stay classy, New Vegas. Mojave, mo problems. Am I right? Ask the comment. Big Saul said, quote, "The fuck you looking at? You wearing a wire, are you? I'll break your fucking kneecaps. Hey, get back here."
Thank you to channel member Edgy and Azzy from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we find Alpha Team from NCR's first recon at Camp McCarran. One of the more memorable group members is Corporal Betsy, a tough-talking sniper who has this to say if a male courier asks for a date.
Never seen you around before. What do you want? Yeah, right. You're sniffing up the wrong skirt. Try me again when you're tall, blonde, and female.
However, if we approach Betsy as a female, she has some somewhat spicy dialogue to share with us.
Girl, you are some grade A poon. Anybody ever tell you that? Trust me, the alpha males are overrated. Plenty of them in the army. All they're good for is killing each other and taking smelly shits. Yeah? So what? I could take a bullet in the skull tomorrow. I haven't got time to take it slow and subtle. I see somebody I like, I go ahead and tell her. That's about the only thing that the horn dog males get right.
In Fallout New Vegas, one of the first settlements the courier will likely come across is Prim. The NCR has a camp right outside, but can't seem to keep order now that a group of convicts has taken the town, forcing the citizens into hiding. The convicts have mostly taken control of the Bison Steve, a multi-story casino with a decrepit roller coaster surrounding it. Still, inside, we can find something the developers left behind that might leave you scratching your head. One way to visit each casino floor is by fixing the elevator, so couriers with high enough repair skills can use this shortcut when dealing with the convicts. This isn't the only button we can find, as if we no-clip through the ceiling, we can see another elevator switch suspended in the void. Interacting with it will prompt us to repair it, but it never fixes the button. This is likely just a leftover placeholder for the original prompt of the elevator, or perhaps even a reference to the top floor, which can be visited through the elevator. Whatever the case, this is still a cool find for people who like to look outside of the playable map for hidden gems, something that the Fallout games are no stranger to. Thank you to Tommy Huang from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC, Lonesome Road, we come to the Divide, a war-torn hellscape ground zero to multiple nuclear strikes. Crumbling highways and destroyed buildings litter the area, but so do marked men and Deathclaws, one of the roughest spots in the game. We can find caves and valleys hiding even more dangers through the rubble, one of which hides quite possibly one of the strongest Deathclaws in Fallout New Vegas. Entering the cave will trigger a collapse in the entrance, trapping you with the beast, with a pretty likely outcome for those who are not prepared. However, if we come a bit prepared, this is possibly the easiest encounter with a Deathclaw in any Fallout game. Shooting a flare at Rar will cause him to flee, as he is scared of the fire. At this point, Rar will hide under the undetonated nuke that sits in the cave. Activating it with the laser detonator will cause the rocks to fall onto the Deathclaw, killing him instantly. This is a great trick to employ that makes the fight way more manageable, and it's a terrific attention to detail from the developers. It's always cool to be able to use the environment in fights, and this is a great example. In Fallout New Vegas, when visiting the Strip, we can find the Ultralux Casino, considered one of the fanciest establishments in the entire wasteland. However, very few people notice the note camouflaged by the sidewalk texture just outside the venue. The letter entitled Fine Dining reads as follows. These past few years, the very idea of fine dining has seemed beyond our grasp. Indeed, where does one even begin to look for something artfully prepared and beautifully presented by a world-class chef? Well, fellow epicures, I have found the one place left on this godforsaken earth with real food. I present to you the Ultralux. Ignore the rabble on the street, the petty farmers and the everyman types rubbing their pitiful few caps together in an attempt to elevate themselves to some semblance of class. Ignore the filthy, disease-ridden prostitutes of the Gomorrah, whoring themselves to anyone with coin. Walk briskly to the fabulous Ultralux, the only building in New Vegas worth your attention. You'll know it when you see it. Enter the doors of their restaurant, the Gourmand, and speak with the lovely Marjorie. She'll arrange for your care. Dally not, for reservations must be made as early as possible. A sumptuous feast awaits you, dear friends. Knowing what we do about the White Glove Society, this note actually gives a great introduction to their faction before we even step through the door. In Fallout New Vegas, when we come to the Strip, we have a few big casinos that we can visit. Each of them checks with patrons at the door to make sure they don't bring any weapons inside the building. Though with a little skill, we can sneak in quite a few past the guards. One guy that helps with this a bit by selling confirmed hideable weapons is Mr. Holdout, who leans against Gomorrah, waiting to push his wares on the various people that visit the Strip. We can get a discount from Holdout if we have negative reputation with the Strip. Still, we can impress him more and get a small bit of unique dialogue if the courier has the wild child reputation for the area.
Hey there, friend. A bit of advice. You look like you could use some protection. Lucky for you, I got what you need. My stock and trade? All kinds of easy-to-hide weapons for slipping into and out of casinos. They won't give you a second glance. It's an honor to have my wares used by such a wild badass. Cuts on the house, friend.
In Fallout New Vegas, one of the locations we can stumble across on the Strip is Vault 21, or what it has become now. Before the war, the vault was hidden under the Strip and actually managed to keep the dwellers safe, functioning as it should and using gambling as a problem solver throughout its existence. It wasn't until Mr. House used his influence to change the location to an attraction post-war that we would see the building we see today, its neon sign fitting perfectly into the New Vegas skyline. This does cause some conflict with the snow globe that represents the Strip, as we can assume these trinkets were made pre-war, as House has been collecting them for that long. Strangely, we see the Vault 21 sign in the depiction of the globe. Obviously, the developers wanted to make the snow globe look like the Strip we see in the game, and the sign is perfect for the silhouette. Still, this does conflict with the story we hear about Vault 21. Perhaps the Strip's snow globe was made post-war by a handy wastelander. Whatever the case, these little worlds are the perfect collectible for a Fallout game, and Vault-Tec hit a home run with these promotional items. Thank you to Kevin the Dragon and W6B from the Discord server, both of which really wanted me to cover the Mojave Express drop boxes in a video. In Fallout New Vegas, there will be multiple times you can come across these Mojave Express containers, and they can be used to ship different items to each location they appear at. In total, there are 5 throughout the Mojave, located outside the general store in Goodsprings, inside the Nash residence in Prim, next to the door in the Dino Delight Motel in Novak, right outside the Old Mormon Fort in Freeside, and inside the LVB station on the New Vegas Strip. Most people I have talked to ignore these drop boxes entirely, but they can be of some use. If you're planning a route to sell some items or take them back to your player home, you could send thousands of pounds of gear to any of these boxes and pick it all up whenever you want. These mail drops don't mimic traditional containers though, so you won't be able to just store items in the one that you're currently interacting with. Still, you can send some items off to another drop spot and everything will remain there until it's picked up, so these are underrated as a stash for items. While often overlooked, this is an excellent feature in Fallout New Vegas that ties nicely into the story of the courier. Thank you to Jimmy261 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC, Lonesome Road, we find ourselves in the ravages of the Divide. The adventure will take us through blown out buildings and forgotten caverns containing many small details and secrets. My all-time favorite example of this is the fossilized dog we can find in the Cave of Abaddon. Marked with Ulysses' Old World symbol, we can find a small opening in the cave wall. Seymour will be waiting for you on a file cabinet in the back if you happen to have the Wild Wasteland perk. The dog acts as a miscellaneous item and has no weight or value, unless you're a Futurama fan. Seymour is a direct reference to the saddest episode, at least in my opinion, of Futurama, the 7th episode of the 4th season, Jurassic Bark. In this episode, we meet Fry's long-lost dog, which Fry assumed had just died of old age after moving on when he had been frozen for 1,000 years. It turns out, Seymour never moved on and just waited for Fry until his eventual death. Seymour is a must-grab for me in all of my playthroughs, and I like to think about his various adventures before showing up in New York by the year 3000. Clearly, this episode has touched a lot of people, and it's always great to see a Futurama reference. Thank you to Duck from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, my favorite of the minor factions that we can meet are the Kings. As a lifelong fan of Elvis Presley, it was a joy to see a faction dedicated to his character and memory in the game. If we go to the King's School of Impersonation, we can find a few unique things. Some I have covered in past videos. Still, if we talk to the resident hairdresser for this group of cats, we can obtain one of the most easily missable melee weapons in Fallout New Vegas. On the first floor of the school, we can find Sergio. Sergio cuts hair for the group and is highly recommended by the king himself if the courier earns their spot with the faction. However, the gang will not turn hostile if we take matters into our own hands and attack the barber. This is the fastest and easiest way to get Figaro, the unique switchblade. While the blade itself is beautiful, it's certainly not the best weapon you will find in New Vegas, but it is often missed due to a bug within the game. On consoles, where many people enjoy the Fallout series, Sergio often doesn't spawn. Since console commands are exclusive to PC, it will lead to Figaro being impossible to obtain. So if you are a unique item hunter and you're looking for a great knife to go with your new greaser look in the wasteland, make sure to stop by the Kings and pay Sergio a visit. In Fallout New Vegas, if we use the Wild Wasteland trait, we can find all sorts of things that will make you scratch your head, and one of the first encounters the courier will likely find is right outside of Good Springs. Next to the road out of town, we can find a fridge that has seen better days, and inside there's a skeleton with a suave gambler hat. At face value, it may seem odd to see this scene, and some may wonder how this person ended up like this. This Wild Wasteland encounter references the movie Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. In the film, Jones manages to survive a blast from a nuclear test facility by hiding in a fridge lined with lead. What we find in New Vegas shows that this move wouldn't work out so well in the Fallout universe.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Thank you to Steven the 429th from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, the city is crawling with good and bad alike. New Vegas is a city of vice and prosperity for those who seek either. With such a place, it has left a lasting influence on the groups and individuals that call the area home. One casino in particular has quite the shroud of mystery around it, the Ultralux. The residents, the White Glove Society, who wear masks to protect this mystery, have a strange appetite, and even stranger things lie around the resort. Inside the kitchen of the Gourmand, we can find a few mysterious items that do not seem to have any use in-game. The infected Brahmin meat. This meat is unique because if we pick it up and add it to our inventory, it will be filed under miscellaneous items instead of aid. This means we cannot consume this meat, and with its low value and high weight, rare item hunters will want to store it away as a trophy instead of selling it. The infected Brahmin meat was going to be used in a quest that would see the courier using it in a stew for legionaries at the fort. This meat could have been added to the mongrel's dog bowls as well, but these quests were cut from the final game. This would explain why the meat appears in our inventory as miscellaneous items rather than aid like most food in game. So if you are a fan of rare items and cut quests, these 6 slabs of Brahmin meat will act as a perfect trophy in your player home. In Fallout New Vegas, you can find many slabs of meat. Brahmin steak, dog meat, and even human flesh are just some of the different kinds you may encounter when out in the Mojave. One stands out quite a bit due to rarity, and that is the doggy treat item that can only be found in 2 known places in Fallout New Vegas. The first place we are looking at is pretty close to where the courier starts in Good Springs, right outside the Yangtze Memorial in an unmarked abandoned shack. This rundown old shack can actually act as a player home. It's safe to throw your items on the ground or store them in any container you can find inside. More relevant to this video, we can find one of the doggy treats here on the floor. The other doggy treat is a bit further away, at Big Mountain. We can find it in the X-13 research facility. This is where we would get the Stealth Suit Mark II armor. There are a lot of dog-heavy themes here, including a Night Stalker haven. This is why it makes perfect sense that we find a doggy treat in one of the dog bowls here. This makes the item a bit rarer in my opinion, as the first one we can find is laying in a shack that most players would likely never see, and the only other doggy treat in the game is guarded by a group of Night Stalkers in the basement of a big mountain facility. This has to be one of the rarest items in Fallout New Vegas. Too bad you can't give them to Rex or any other dogs, but they will act as a good conversation piece. I want to send out a big thanks to everybody who's been leaving suggestions in the YouTube comments and on the Discord server. This is one of the most suggested, so thank you very much. In Fallout New Vegas, while in Freeside, we can come across Rotface, a panhandling ghoul outside of Mick and Rouse that will offer tips and info on the surrounding area for the price of 1 cap. After exhausting all of Rotface's dialogue, if we wait a few days and come back to Freeside, he will be wearing a fancy new hat, which interestingly belongs to Eulogy Jones from Paradise Falls in Fallout 3. This doesn't seem to be a coincidence either, as the hat does not appear in Fallout 3, just here in New Vegas, so who knows how it got here. Diving deeper, we can find that this was part of a larger quest involving Rotface that would see the ghoul raise his prices each time you tipped him enough, going from 1 cap to 10, and from 10 caps to 100. This could lead to Rotface wearing Eulogy's entire outfit. There is a mod that restores this content, but the clothes are renamed to reflect Rotface. If this was how it was supposed to appear, then perhaps it may not be the clothes of the Paradise Falls head honcho. Still, the hat is a new item. It wasn't in Fallout 3, and when we have no mods affecting it, the name shows as Eulogy Jones's hat. Either way, Rotface is a likable character that deserves a new hat, so make sure to pay him a visit on your next playthrough. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the locations we can visit is Cerulean Robotics. The old shop is hidden away in a corner of Freeside and is home to everyone's favorite robot, Fisto. However, suppose you have the Wild Wasteland trait. In that case, this location becomes the scene of a pretty humorous encounter and a great reference. It all starts when we leave the building for the first time, where the courier will then be greeted by Maud and her gang.
Lucky what we have here, ladies. Another unsuspecting Ponce. Over here!
These 3 old ladies make up the Freeside gang, Maud's Muggers, and they are looking to make us the next victim in their crime spree. This encounter is bound to catch people off guard the first time they stumble upon it, and the ensuing battle is one of the funniest in New Vegas. This group is a reference to Hell's Grannies, a gang from a Monty Python sketch that parodied the Hell's Angels, so this reference goes pretty deep. Regardless, make sure to watch out for grandmas in spring dresses, because you may just end up with a rolling pin upside your head. Thank you to Gus and Slick Daddy B from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, the courier makes the long journey through the Mojave, meeting the wonderful people that call the desert home. From the factions to the mutants, we have a chance to make an impact with the various choices that present themselves on our way to Hoover Dam. One of the choices we can make is taking the Wild Wasteland perk. This adds a lot of content that would have otherwise been left out and can make the trip through New Vegas quite a bit of fun. Suppose you have this perk and finish the Battle of Hoover Dam. In that case, when the credits begin to roll, the Wild Wasteland perk will add fun tidbits from the developers from the standard text that we see. Things like nicknames and funny quotes will start to appear, and it gives us a bit of insight into the humor of the team that made New Vegas. Another interesting note about the credits is that the Dead Money DLC is listed as Dead Monkey, which isn't just for the Wild Wasteland credits. This appears normally as well. While some would write this off as a typo, the DLC is listed often and each time this error occurs. I genuinely believe that you do not get the real New Vegas experience without the Wild Wasteland perk. The wacky encounters and Easter eggs that show up with the perk are worth far more than some of the items that become unobtainable when the perk is active. The Mojave is just a more exciting place with the Wild Wasteland. Thank you to Bayoyo from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the companions we can recruit is Lily Bowen, a grandma turned nightkin who spends her time at Jacobstown. While Lily always seems to have something to say about the NPCs we meet and the scenarios that we are in, we can get some unique dialogue by bringing her to a few places. We get these voice lines by taking Lily to a vault, the Strip, Novak, Black Mountain, and the bombed out town outside Nellis, which seems to trigger quite a different response from the Nightkin.
My, this reminds me of when I was a girl. Right over there would have been where your grandpa and I had our first kiss. All these lights fancy. Ooh, look, Pumpkin, a dinosaur. Do you want to ride the dinosaur? I wonder if Marcus knows about this place. Out! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1. Time for medicine.
Thank you to Kata the Leopard from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC Dead Money, the courier is brought to the Sierra Madre Resort and Casino, fitted with a bomb collar and forced to work with a pack of characters in order to make a grand escape. Plenty of things stand in our way: the ghost people who call the area home, various traps, and a thick poisonous cloud that can drop even the strongest wastelander in seconds. Still, one item waits for us at the Sierra Madre, an item that has no real use and is out of the player's way just enough to go widely unnoticed by those who aren't looking for it: the embalming fluid. The only 4 jars of this substance in the game can be found in Salida del Sol North, at the Campanas del Sol. This room clearly acted as a morgue and chapel pre-war, and these jars are a reminder of the good old days. Embalming fluid prevents decomposition in bodies post-death in the real world. As for Fallout New Vegas, the substance has no use. It's not used in any quests, nor can it be crafted into anything. Seemingly, the jars were placed here for the ambience and to further identify the room. Whatever the case may be, rare item hunters will want to go out of their way to collect this 4-of-a-kind find. Just don't think about what it'll cost you to get to the Sierra Madre in the first place. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find a thieves' ransom of different plants and animals out in the Mojave, just waiting for the courier to harvest their resources. One thing I didn't learn until after a long time with the game is that one of the most common plants in the Mojave is also one of the most addictive: the coyote tobacco plant. I ran a poll on Twitter to see how many players knew about the tobacco addiction that can occur in Fallout New Vegas, and it seems I wasn't alone in missing this little tidbit. Make sure to follow me on Twitter as well for more polls like this and daily Fallout factoids. We can find a ton of these plants around the Mojave, and eating the coyote tobacco chew will increase our perception and agility by 1 for 4 minutes. Eat enough of these plants though, and the courier will become addicted to tobacco, draining the charisma and perception stat by 1 until cured. While cigarettes exist in the world of Fallout and we can collect them in mass, New Vegas doesn't allow players to use them as consumables, making the coyote tobacco chew the only way we can consume the plant, besides when crafting black coffee, which does not cause addiction in game. So keep this in mind when looking for a little perk up in the desert. The withdrawal may not be worth it. Thank you to Vilnia from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the best shops you can visit is Mick and Ralph's. The two have a great setup in Freeside, but if players keep their eyes open, we can find some things that may hint at the duo's past. Leaning against one of the walls are posters for the Super Duper Mart, which we do not see in Fallout New Vegas as a location. Still, in Fallout 3, the Lone Wanderer was tasked to explore one of the supermarkets for the Wasteland Survival Guide. This pairs well with a poster that we can find upstairs above a desk advertising the Museum of Technology, another primary location from Fallout 3, with a nuanced picture of the Virgo 2 lunar lander. Both of these posters were in Fallout 3, and it's interesting that we would find them here, as typically Fallout developers leave things like this as clues. The final oddity that we can find here at Mick and Ralph's hangs above the register. We can see a bundle of those creepy dolls that the swamp folk like in Point Lookout. Perhaps whoever designed the store just thought that these items would tie the room together, using things they found fitting in the game's files, though it is likely that these curiosities were put here to hint at Mick and Ralph being from the East Coast themselves, or having a lot of business from someone who was. Either way, this is an interesting find for anyone in the Freeside area. In Fallout New Vegas, there are rare items scattered throughout the Mojave just waiting for a courier to get their hands on them. The desert wasteland is deceptively sneaky when it comes to its treasures. Still, those with an eagle eye can spot the diamonds in the rough. One of the biggest treasure coves is the Devil's Throat, a dark nickname for a radiated hole in the ground crawling with centaurs. Inside the radioactive pit, we can find a truck, and inside the trailer, we can find a dead prospector with one of the rarest hats in the game, the party hat. We can also find the unique minigun, the CZ-57 Avenger, one of the best weapons in New Vegas, lying next to the unlucky Explorer. While the party hat doesn't offer much in the way of boosts or armor, The rarity of the item itself could drive a person to collect it, as this is the only party hat that can be found in the game. We can find around 10 similar hats at the RepCon test site. Still, these are the destroyed variant of the object and are not the same and cannot even be repaired with the intact party hat. Hiding something as silly as a party hat in one of the most dangerous areas of the game, right next to one of the best weapons that can be found, is the type of thing that makes me love Fallout. The hat acts as a reward itself due to its rarity, so you get a fun trinket for exploring along with finding the Avenger. Make sure to stop by the Devil's Throat to get this hat so you can properly celebrate your new minigun. Thank you to Arctic Penguin and many others for suggesting this on the Discord server. In Fallout New Vegas, the first location the courier will land is Good Springs. Typically, the player would talk to the people around town and find out what they can do to help them start their Mojave journey. The settlement has a ton of skill checks, making it a fun way to test your early build in the game, but we can have some fun if we are more prepared. One of the things that can be easily overlooked in this area is a chemistry set inside Doc Mitchell's house that can be interacted with. If the courier has a high enough science skill, various chems or a handful of stim packs can be crafted, which is an excellent boost at any point in Fallout New Vegas. Inside the Good Springs store, Chet runs a tight ship. He is perhaps the least interested in getting into a gunfight with the powder gangers. Of course, there is a skill check to convince the shopkeep, but if you happen to have Chet's suggested amount of caps on you, you can offer that to him as well. New Vegas is filled with small details and alternate ways to approach quests like this, making it fun and interesting to try new ways to handle things in each playthrough.
Now just hold on. I never voted to take on the powder gangers. That's a 1,000 cap investment you're talking about. That's more like it. The people can pick up their extra ammo and leather armor when they're ready. Was there anything else?
Thank you to Uji in the Discord for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, while in the town of Novak, we can visit the Dino Bike gift shop inside the giant T-Rex. Behind a locked door, we can find a ton of Dinky the T-Rex souvenirs, that gun, and more importantly for this video, toy rockets. Most people make a habit of grabbing these toys before doing the Come Fly With Me quest, which sees us use them as rocket fuel. They do have another use in New Vegas though, and it will take us to Nellis Air Force Base. The boomers that inhabit this base are not used to outsiders and have little to no trading with the Mojave. Pearl, their leader, will request you get on the good side of the tribe, and these rockets can help with that in a great way. We can find mini boomers, the children of the tribe, running around, playing, going to school, and pretty much doing anything else you would expect a kid to do in the post-apocalypse. If you have a charisma 7 or higher, the courier will get unique dialogue options. Each kid has some type of game they are playing, seemingly based on skill magazines, and if you have some of these rocket toys in your inventory, the courier will be able to gift them to a lot of the mini boomers. Most people likely miss this, as charisma is widely considered a dump stat in Fallout New Vegas, leading many to set it to 1 and use the points on other parts of their build. Regardless, if you have the stats, it makes dealing with the boomers that much easier. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find a ton of things left over from the pre-war times. One of the biggest examples of this is the many destroyed cars that act as rusted over set pieces littering the Mojave. Usually, there is nothing special about these old world vehicles. They are broken down and we won't get a chance to get them in working order. Still, there is one truck that stands out amongst the rest. If we go just a bit south of the Big Mountain West Tunnel, we can find a military truck cut in half with a bunch of radioactive waste cargo. And taking a look at the license plate, we can see that it's from New Jersey, and it reads Rocket 88. This is the only plate in New Vegas from the Garden State, and it only appears with the Wild Wasteland trait activated. This is one big reference to the Ike Turner song Rocket 88, but even more so to the movie The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the 8th Dimension, where the plate is featured on a vehicle that drives through a mountain.
What is going on?
This is Control. Stop my scope. This is Chase 1. We got his tracks. They go right up to a wall of rock.
This is Chase 2. Chase 2. We see him.
Thank you to Azzy from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC, Old World Blues, the courier is thrust into a sci-fi fever dream and dropped into the Big Empty. There are plenty of dangers to find and treasures to uncover on Big Mountain, but today we will be looking at the indoor ghost town that is Higgs Village. These houses were the homes of the think tank, but now act as shells of the past, giving us glimpses into each of the executives' personalities. Outside, the centerpiece of this cul-de-sac stands tall. This large fountain ties the whole neighborhood together, but there is a way to make it run again. Heading to the X-17 meteorological station, we can find this scale model of Higgs Village, complete with fountain. Jumping onto the terminal in the same room as the snow globe will allow us to start the weather test. This will cause rain to fall on the model houses and reveal a soggy duffel bag with some random loot. If we return to Higgs Village, we can see that the fountain is back in working order after doing this, even forming a pool at the base. Many may have overlooked this tremendous small detail by not revisiting Higgs Village. Still, the fountain ties the scene together perfectly, and it makes for a nice stop during your wasteland travels. My good friend Frobro covered this as well as many other New Vegas factoids on his channel, so if you want even more Fallout facts, check out his channel linked in the description, and make sure to let him know that you came from here. He's an awesome dude with great content. In Fallout New Vegas, there are plenty of apparel options to suit your needs throughout the Mojave and beyond. From basic clothing to the heaviest of armors, you are sure to find something to fit the type of courier you would like to play as. All clothing is not created equally though, and some can fetch quite the price from vendors, which led me to look for the most valuable clothes we can find in the game. In regards to non-armor clothing, the search brings us to Big Mountain, where the events of the Old World Blues DLC take place. And for the most valuable clothes, we have to look at the most valuable doctor on site, Dr. Mobius. Inside the Forbidden Dome, we can find a chest that holds Dr. Mobius' scrubs. With a value of 7,500, this stands as the most expensive clothing item in Fallout New Vegas. Aside from the value, the scrubs will boost intelligence by 2, charisma by 1, and science by 15. They also host the highest damage threshold of all traditional clothing. We can find the unique unarmed weapon, Dr. Mobius' glove, as well, and pairing these items with some glasses that can be found behind an average locked door in the think tank, lying on the floor of the room, that also belong to Mobius, we will complete the Mobius strip challenge for a bit of XP. This whole outfit will fetch a high price from vendors if caps are what you are after, but the fact that the entire ensemble is composed of unique items may just cause you to store it in your closet. Either way, this is an outfit everyone will want to grab on the way out of Big Mountain. In Fallout New Vegas, when we reach the Big Empty, we can find many technological wonders that await the courier around nearly every corner. Still, there were a few things cut from the DLC for one reason or another that would have added some spice to the gameplay of Old World Blues. 2 rifles were cut from the final game that act quite differently than anything else we find in Fallout New Vegas. The first one we will be looking at is the Spider Rifle, which launches spider mines, as seen in Fallout 3, at our enemies. These little guys will run up to hostile NPCs and explode, causing some nice damage in the process. I consider this one the less interesting of the 2 rifles. The spider bots are a fun way to fight battles, but they are weak overall, though their explosion does handle business. The other cut gun based on arachnids is the Scorpion Rifle. This launches many robo-scorpions into battle, much like we see with the spider mines. However, the scorpions are a bit stronger and will change between close range and laser attacks to fight hostiles. I understand completely why these rifles were cut from the final game. Still, it's always fun to see what could have been and take a look at the cutting room floor to see what the devs left behind. Though for some, who may not like creepy crawlies, it's probably good that these guns were cut. I received a question from a viewer that I hadn't really thought about before, and that was, do the boomers at Nellis fire on every NPC that enters their territory, or is it just Janet and the courier that are victims to their artillery shots? Well, the answer is they absolutely do, but they seem to show mercy to NCR veteran rangers. In Fallout New Vegas, the Mojave is filled with cruel raiders, vicious creatures, and superb locations that can turn any courier into a hardened warrior in no time. Amongst everything we can find, many valuable items wait to be taken, and some of the most expensive we don't even have the option to sell. The item with the most value in all of Fallout New Vegas is the disassembled weapons shipment guarded by the Fiends, which holds a value of 5,000. This is only used in a quest, but I thought it was worth mentioning in this video. Two stand out when it comes to the most valuable non-quest items. The first is virtually unobtainable due to being cut from the final game, the Mantis Scythe schematics. With a value of 800, they stand at the top of the most valuable miscellaneous items in the game. Well, in this case, cut from the game. Using console commands, we can spawn the schematics. Still, they will be added as a Deathclaw Gauntlet resource note instead of their original purpose, which was to allow the courier to craft the Mantis Gauntlet. Regarding non-quest miscellaneous items in Fallout New Vegas, the most valuable one we can find can't even be sold for its cap value. Cook's Fiend Stew Recipe. With a value of 400, this is the most expensive item in the game, not counting weapons and armor, of course. The item immediately gets added as a note to our Pip-Boy, preventing us from selling it. While Cook is known for his skill in the kitchen, after defeating the raider boss, we can harness this power for ourselves. Nothing beats a good stew, even if it's over 100 degrees in the post-war Mojave. Thank you to Meat Servo from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the factions we encounter is the Fiends, a group of dastardly raiders that want nothing more than violence and chems. They have taken up shop in Vault 3, and it's here that we can find an injured NCR Ranger, Bryce Anders. Anders is on a mission to take out Motor Runner, the de facto leader of the Fiends, who is located behind a locked door. Ranger Anders has the key to this door, and it's critical to his mission. If we pickpocket the key from Anders, we get some unique dialogue from the Ranger that shows his desperation.
Is that right? And what sort of support exactly is it that you have to offer? I guess you're right. I won't be able to move fast, but I can more than hold my own in a firefight. God damn it! Is there nothing I can't fuck up here? I've lost the goddamn key. Well, this whole thing's improvising. Now we'll have to improvise some more and find another way through. I'll follow you down.
It's interesting to note that when doing this, we get a duplicate of the key, perhaps as a bug, as Anders would have given it to us had we not stolen it. Regardless, this shows that even NCR Rangers are only human and make mistakes, and they beat themselves up about it too. Shout out to Max on the Discord for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, you can encounter quite a unique home if you travel to the northern part of the map. Brooks Tumbleweed Ranch takes its name quite seriously, as inside we can find the tumbleweeds that call this place home, one in the living room and one in the bedroom, seemingly taking a nap. Interestingly, the items in the shack are owned, likely implying that the tumbleweeds own the property, though outside there is one living creature to find. Amongst the free-range tumbleweeds, we can find a nightkin that will turn off his stealth boy when we get close.
You want to buy Wind Brahmin? Right here. Where did you come from? What's? Crazy with low prices on Wind Brahmin. You buy one. All. They are very good, Wind Brahmin. All caps. Ha ha, stupid human.
Obviously, this is a bad deal and we can kill him and take our caps back after the deed is done. If you refuse the offer, it will lead to him being hostile anyway, so this is the best way for it to pan out. This is a fun location to find and, to me, shows signs of the classic Fallout humor. In Fallout New Vegas, with the Old World Blues DLC installed, one of the traits we can pick while creating our character is Skilled. This grants +5 to all skills, but debuffs our gained experience by 10%. For me, the trade-off is far worth it as we gain experience completing quests and doing various other things. It just takes slightly longer to level up, especially the higher our level gets. Regardless, this trait becomes much more helpful when we take advantage of a bug at the beginning of the game. Traveling far enough away from Goodsprings will bring up a prompt asking if we want to change our character. It's here that we can get more bang for our buck. Going back through and remaking our character, when we come to the trait selection screen again, if we choose Skilled, it will double our skill boost, adding another 5 while the debuff remains the same. We can reapply this process in the Old World Blues DLC at the Sinks Auto Dock, bringing the total to 15 bonus points for every skill. And if that 10% debuff on experience is bugging you, it's here that if we remove the skilled trait, the bonus skill points remain while the debuff is removed. This makes the skilled trait likely one of the most overpowered choices in Fallout New Vegas when following this path. This is why every time I go to the Mojave, I pick Wild Wasteland and Skilled. The pair can't be beat. At the Tops Casino in New Vegas, we can talk to Tommy Torini inside the Aces Theater. He will ask the courier to recruit acts for the casino. The quest will lead us to the comedians Billy Knight and Hadrian, and the musicians Bruce Isaac and the Lonesome Drifter. While recruiting the boys, we can see that the marquee for the Tops is starting to fill up with these names. An excellent small detail, but it also offers a hint at a bigger reward for completing the quest. We can watch these acts once they've settled at the Aces Theater.
I told my wife, she's good looking for a ghoul. It's just too bad she's not a ghoul. Ay, ay, ay.
The most interesting of which is the Lonesome Drifter, who will play reimagined folk songs that will fit into the Fallout universe, such as singing Streets of New Reno based on Streets of Laredo, which was first published in 1910 in John Lomax's Cowboy Songs and Other Frontier Ballads, but was made famous by Marty Robbins. These songs were recorded by Fallout New Vegas lead Joshua Sawyer.
As I walked out in the streets of New Reno, as I walked out in New Reno one day, I spied a young cowboy all wrapped in white linen and cold as the clay.
In Fallout New Vegas, we can find many different items that have somehow stayed around after 200 years of a post-nuclear apocalypse. Some, of course, are more interesting than others, but the fact that we see anything intact from before the war is pretty impressive. One of the things I was surprised to see the most was that a couple of musical instruments had survived out in the wastes. We can find a small number of harmonicas in our travels, and it makes sense that these still litter the area. While they are rare, they still appear enough to have a decently sized collection of mouth harps. However, only one other instrument appears in Fallout New Vegas, and it is far more rare: the acoustic guitar. The courier can only obtain 3 of these throughout the game, and 2 of those require stealing from a well-liked NPC. We can take the first one from the stump the Lonesome Drifter sits on. After doing so, if we complete his part of the talent pool quest by recruiting the Drifter as an act, a second acoustic guitar will spawn in his inventory. We can pickpocket this from him with good enough sneak, bringing our count to 2. Finally, in the Sierra Madre Villa, we can find the only other acoustic guitar in the game, across the street from the police station, next to a music stand. These are the only 3 guitars we can collect from the entirety of Fallout New Vegas, and I love collecting them. It's worth noting that these musical instruments serve no actual purpose, as we can't play them, and that there is some writing on the bottom of the guitar. I can't really make it out myself, so I would love to know what your theories are on what the text says in the comments below. In Fallout New Vegas, the courier can encounter a variety of different things, from roving gangs to giant sinkholes and everything in between. One of the more discussed encounters is the wrecked highwayman just outside of Novak. The subject of many a rumor, this car crash site clearly pays homage to Fallout 2 somehow, but how deep does the reference go? Is this the car of the fabled Chosen One? Does it imply that someone like Nobark could be that very tribal? Well, not quite. This encounter references one that we could have found in Van Buren, where we would see the Chosen One's car filled with microfusion cells and a tanker fob, the latter used to drive the PMV Valdez to the oil rig to confront the Enclave. So here we are in New Vegas, where we can find the trunk sticking out of a sinkhole. The reason we see the highwayman in this state and hear the familiar gold slouch track when approaching it is because it's referencing a glitch that would happen in Fallout 2, where the trunk would just disappear. I asked Fallout New Vegas developer Chris Avalon directly about this encounter, and he had this to say: "It's just for fun, but that would have been a good idea. We did have a plan for a special encounter in Van Buren where you could find the Corvega's trunk, since it could, go missing. But alas." When asked if it was implied that Nobark was the Chosen One, he replied, "Nah, as amusing as it is to consider, Nobark wasn't the Chosen One." While this does put some rumors to rest about the location, it's still great to see any type of throwback to the classic Fallout games, and the wrecked highwayman is one of the best. Thank you to Cran Mythos 57 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC Old World Blues, we can find one of the best Fallout experiences to date: The level of science fiction and mystery in the Big Empty provides for an excellent adventure that is sure to surprise and delight any couriers who find themselves in the area. On the western outskirts of the map, amongst the Hexcrete archipelago, we can find the Z-38 Lightwave Dynamics Research Building. Inside, we see that this facility was used by scientists taking orders from Fred Sinclair, who was responsible for building the Sierra Madre. A terminal resting on the ground floor goes over the various frustrations that the team had with living up to Sinclair's expectations. And seemingly for reference, when they were designing the Vera Keys hologram, we can find a movie poster featuring the starlet hanging on the wall and a small framed portrait on the table across the room. The hardest thing to miss here is the giant blue beam that seems to be projected from both the floor and the ceiling. This was used to create and sculpt the holograms that the scientists were working on. Stepping into this light will cause the courier to faint for 12 hours, making this a great way to pass the time when needed in old world blues. There's a valence radii accentuator in the center of the beam that we can pick up once we regain control of the courier. Overall, something like this that adds more lore to another DLC is really nice to see. It shows that connections exist all over the Mojave and beyond, and that there is plenty of attention to detail in Fallout New Vegas. In Fallout New Vegas, if we head to Camp Searchlight, we can find a church to the southeast. The area is heavily radiated due to the Legion attack, and most of the living beings that we see here are ghouls, though if we have the Wild Wasteland trait, we can get our hands on some of the best explosives in the game. We can enter the basement of this church, where some golden geckos will be waiting for us. Still, after dealing with them, we will see the Wild Wasteland notification when coming to the table at the center of the room. Sitting on the table, we can see a box with 3 grenades inside, all with white crosses on them, and a message painted on another box that says, Holy Hand Grenades, pull pin and count to 5, with the number 5 crossed out and a 3 written next to it. These grenades pack quite the punch, having the highest DPS out of all explosives in Fallout New Vegas. When thrown, after a short wait time, what amounts to a miniature atomic blast destroys every enemy in the area and will damage an unprepared courier as well. Interestingly enough, the grenades lose their trademark white cross when they are thrown, but most people won't mind considering how much damage these mini nukes can do. This is a weapon the devs wanted to include in Fallout 2, but we wouldn't see them officially until New Vegas. Of course, the grenades are a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which features the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch. Fallout is filled with Monty Python Easter eggs, and this is one of the best. Thank you to Kairuji and Crane from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the most devastated areas we can come across is Camp Searchlight. The site is ground zero from a nuclear attack perpetrated by the Legion to the NCR troops stationed here. One such trooper is Private Kyle Edwards, who has ghoulified and taken up hiding inside one of the open houses in Searchlight. Speaking with him, we can find out why he is scared to leave.
Rad scorpions. Fuckers creep the hell out of me. I'm not going outside while they're still crawling around.
This starts an unmarked quest called Arachnophobia. We need to take out the 3 giant rad scorpions that will spawn outside the door once we talk to Edwards. When the smoke has cleared from that nonsense, we have a few possibilities on where to send the ghoul soldier. Edwards could join Aster, explore the wasteland, or my personal favorite, take up shop at Ranger Station Echo. The NCR camp has plenty of other ghoul soldiers, and to me, it seems like the best place for Edwards to realize that he will be just fine in the NCR. Ranger Station Echo has some background radiation that makes it more accessible for ghouls. This could be due to the craters we see outside, which most people attribute to dropping atomic bombs, which makes sense due to the subject of the Fallout series. Still, I have always thought that they were meteorite craters, though they are a tad smaller than what you would expect for that. Craters left by meteorites often have the same pattern, with a large hole surrounded by a couple of smaller ones. Whatever the case may be, this, to me, seems like a perfect home for Private Edwards, and it sure beats the hell out of being stuck in Searchlight. In Fallout New Vegas, we find the Diamond in the Rough, the New Vegas Strip. Out of all of the post-apocalyptic settlements that we come across in the Fallout universe, the Strip has got to be one of my top favorites. As soon as we enter, we are blasted with music and lights, people milling about, and giant functioning casinos on every corner. Though, when it comes to the tops, there is some interesting artwork that we can check out inside. The casino is no stranger to unique design. The entrance is beautiful, and fantastic decor art can be seen everywhere. From molded ceiling lights to sculptures on the walls, the tops is a far cry from the wasteland outside the New Vegas border. One of the paintings we can find, in multiple locations, shows Tenpenny Tower. This, of course, is a place that we can visit and call home in Fallout 3. Still, we are 2,400 miles away from the capital wasteland during Fallout New Vegas, so seeing it pictured here can be a bit jarring. A man in a cowboy hat and duster can be seen in the picture, which I assume could possibly be Lucas Sims, though why he would be out of Megaton visiting Tenpenny Tower is a different question. This is not the only time we see odd art in New Vegas that seems to come from Fallout 3, but it is one of the only landmarks that we can find from the Capital Wasteland featured in the game. Now, when you go to the Tops Casino, you won't be able to unsee it. You're welcome. Thank you to Petrified Napkin from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we can explore the Mojave Wasteland to our heart's content. While the surface has plenty of things to worry about, there is a sub-level in the New Vegas area as well. The sewers that run under the city are home to large groups of people looking to stay safe from the all too apparent dangers that lurk above ground. They are also home to Red Lucy and the Thorn, an arena of sorts that sees the mutated creatures of the post-war battle it out for the enjoyment of the spectators. The courier can even jump into the fights themselves, earning respect and some caps for their troubles. Red Lucy doesn't have an unlimited supply of creatures though. In order to maintain them, she has to gather eggs from topside every so often, and the courier can get the quest Bleed Me Dry from Lucy, which will target increasingly more difficult to obtain egg piles. Once the courier has finished this task, Red Lucy will be impressed and take you up on the offer of going somewhere more private, her chambers. Now that we are inside, we can see this light switch, the same one Lucy turns on before she gets more comfortable. This is a mood light switch. When turning it on, red light will coat the bed, and soft music starts playing through the speakers in the room. This is a great attention to detail that really builds on Lucy's character, as she has a very strong sexual and physical energy. So seeing that she has such a smooth setup for when things get intimate makes complete sense. Now, if only we could set something like this up in the Lucky 38 suite. Thank you to Kitty from the Discord for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, while at Boulder City, we can find quite a few clues about the previous Battle of Hoover Dam and the standoff that happened here. On the top floor of a building here that is brought to our attention by a trail of skeletons, we can find the remains of Ranger Teresa Lutz, and next to her is a holotape that reads, "We're cut off from the rest of the platoon, and there are legionaries all over the place. There's no chance that we can get out of here before they blow the town, so we're going to hold out against them as long as we can. If anyone gets this, I'd like to make sure that Private Jeffrey Hoy and Corporal Marcus Christensen are commended for their valor and sacrifice. Both have upheld the ideals and honor of the New California Republic with distinction. Ranger Teresa Lutz out." We can find the names of Marcus Christensen, Jeffrey Hoy, and Teresa Lutz on the war memorial outside, and Private Kowalski even sheds some more light on the events that took place.
You here to pay your respects too? It commemorates the Battle of Hoover Dam. The Rangers lured the best of Caesar's Legion into Boulder City and blew the whole town up. The NCR still lost a bunch of troops in the fighting though. My older brother sacrificed himself so they could evacuate some of the wounded.
More remnants of the battle lie around the area, skeletons of the Legion group that came into Boulder City and the NCR soldiers that defended it. It is a charming yet solemn small detail that tells a lot about the history of the area and the two most prominent factions that inhabit it. Big thanks to Rocked from the Discord for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find Jacobstown, a quaint little settlement outside of downtown Vegas, inhabited by Marcus and his super mutant family. On the outskirts of town, we can find Charleston Cave. This cave is a nightmare, filled to the brim with Night Stalker and enough twists and turns to get most people lost fast. Deep in the flooded chambers at the bottom of the cavern, we can find something that many explorers miss. Most people are here for the quest Guess Who I Saw Today and might have missed it altogether due to the confusing tunnels here. This bunker lies hidden in one of the corners of the underchambers and is both a nice find and a disturbing one. The shelter looks sturdy and has held up well for over 200 years, and we can find some ammo, purified water, and some first aid chems on the rack. There's even a bed on the floor. We can also find an audio log that seems to be from the person using this bunker from around the time the bombs dropped, and it has some disturbing overtones to say the least.
So the Reds finally hit us, just like I always said they would. Vegas is still there as far as I know, but that probably won't last long. Didn't get accepted into one of the vaults, so I did the next best thing and had this place built. Got massive debts, but who cares now? That's every man for himself now. Had to take care of the Paulson boy since he knew about this place. These supplies are for me and nobody else. There's a woman and her daughter up in one of the rooms of the lodge. Might go pay him a visit tomorrow. The man's got needs.
In Fallout New Vegas, there are weapons you can only get with console commands. Being on PC certainly has its perks. Regardless of standard cut content you can find this way, we can also come across some absolutely ridiculous guns that can be a lot of fun when you're stomping around the Mojave. First, we are looking at the Federator, a debug automatic Gauss rifle that can be found in the TKs-Mantis cell, or by using console commands to spawn it into your inventory. This Gauss rifle has infinite ammo and fires automatically, making it just a killing machine. No matter what's in front of you, it's game over. But the same can be said for the other two. Like the debug mega pistol. You can get this by using console commands to spawn it into the game world, and it looks and functions just like a regular 9mm pistol. The big difference is the insane amount of damage it does. You're gonna be one-shotting anything with this pistol, period. Finally, for the laser buffs out there, the disintegrator. This, much like the previous guns, looks just like its in-game counterpart, the laser rifle. Still, it does one-hit damage to anything, disintegrating it on contact. These guns are all just really fun to mess around with, and it's nice that we still have access to them in the final version of Fallout New Vegas. In Fallout New Vegas, at the Ultralux Casino, we can get the Beyond the Beef quest. During this quest, we will learn that the White Glove Society has kidnapped Ted Gunderson, a wealthy Brahmin baron's son. Through the course of events, we will learn that the White Gloves used to be cannibals. Though they claim not to partake in this dark act anymore, we find out that's not the case with a bit of speechcraft or by having the cannibal perk ourselves, which leads to why we're talking about them in the first place. During a recent stream, many audience members claimed they did not know that you can replace Ted Gunderson with one of your human companions, like Boone, which is what I like to call making Boone burgers.
Ted Gunderson is his name. It would be simplest if we could convince him this was all an unfortunate misunderstanding. But if he won't listen, we can't very well let him go. He'll have to be slaughtered and served. Then we wouldn't need the replacement. But you would need to deal with his father, Heck. Perhaps if you could smear some of Ted's blood around his father's hotel room, you could frame him. Perhaps a little rugged, a little gamey, but he's in good shape and looks healthy. Very well. If you're able to convince young Mr. Gunderson to return to his father, replace him in the freezer with your friend and we'll have a deal.
Once you confess to Mortimer that you are a cannibal, all you have to do is lock Boone in the freezer and return Ted to his father. After the reunion, we can report back to Mortimer, who will invite you to dinner, where he informs the rest of the society about what he just served. In Fallout New Vegas, there are a ton of ways to get unique dialogue from the various NPCs we meet throughout the Mojave. Many of these speech options can be found by taking different perks, and when it comes to Cass, we can make her nervous while getting some humorous responses from her with the right ones. As a female character, if we take the Cherchez la Femme perk, this will open up some fun dialogue with Whiskey Rose, which opens up her character a little bit.
Well, I'm not one for soft living. Or soft men, let me tell you. I'm guessing neither are you. What? Oh. Damn, no offense meant. Sometimes I get so drunk, I don't care who I share a bed with, so that's fine with me. My point before is that you know the Mojave, and it's a hard place.
If we take the Black Widow perk, we have another option that sees the courier make a joke about male anatomy that Cass concurs with.
Well, I'm not one for soft living. Or soft men, let me tell you. I'm guessing neither are you. Well, don't let the soldiers drink too much, and I'd agree with you most time. Fucking whiskey dicks. My point before is that you know the Mojave, and it's a hard place.
Thank you to one from the YouTube comments for suggesting this one. Before we start, I want to explain that this is just a fun side effect of turning on God mode in the console of Fallout New Vegas on PC. I wouldn't count this as a way to beat dead money in a legit way, I just think it's interesting. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC Dead Money, the courier is suited with a bomb collar that beeps when it's about to explode. The explosion can be triggered by moving too far away from the Sierra Madre, or by electronic interference from the various speakers and radios that are in the area. However, One interesting thing that can happen here is if we turn on God mode. During this time, if we allow the collar to go off, the courier won't be damaged by the explosion at all, which is why they call it God mode. It gets interesting after the collar triggers, as now we won't hear any beeping and the bomb will not go off. Elijah says that if one goes off, the rest of them do as well, but this won't affect any NPCs with the collars either. So now, if we turn off God mode, we can explore Dead Money with no collar. This takes a ton of the suspense out of the DLC, and while the bomb is a constant stress during our adventures in the Sierra Madre, it's funny to note that the devs clearly added the bomb mechanic just to make life a little more difficult, as once it goes off and we survive, we can finish the DLC with no issue. Regardless, some people may want to experience Dead Money this way. Still, I personally think it's an interesting side effect of using God mode. Plus, it's not like everything else in the area isn't trying to kill you. In Fallout New Vegas, while in Freeside, we can come across Mick and Ralph's, a humble store on the edge of town that deals with guns and general items. Mick and Ralph know how to deal and are pretty in tune with the rest of Freeside, so they are an excellent place to go to get some things moving when in the area. If we speak to Mick, we can find out that the Omertas in Gomorrah on the Strip have no longer been buying weapons from the store, which is hurting business. So Mick asks you to keep an eye out, which can lead to one of the best rewards in the game, especially for unique item hunters. This will involve starting the How Little We Know quest, and the easiest way to favor Mick and Ralph here is to just side with Big Sal and Nero over Caccino and help the bosses with their plans. Afterward, we can convince Big Sal to start buying from Mick and Ralph again. When we return to the store, Mick will be happy to hear the news about the Omertas and offer us a new and improved Pip-Boy. The Pimp-Boy 3 Billion. It's a pimped out version of the wrist device with a fancy coat of gold paint and shiny studs throughout the body. This is the only place we can get the Pimp-Boy, and it is the only one we can find anywhere in the Fallout series, making this quite possibly one of the rarest items available, especially since the quest can be buggy, locking players out if they don't follow specific paths to a T. If for some reason you wanted the old model of Pip-Boy back around your wrist, all you would have to do is talk to Mick again to switch the device. Personally, I feel there is no better way to show off your wealth in the Mojave than wearing this beautiful piece during the rest of your playthrough. Thank you to Philip and Kitty from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we can travel to Bitter Springs. This location saw quite the tragedy when the NCR flushed the cons out and executed the civilians that started to flee, including the sick, elderly, and children. The state of affairs when we arrive in Bitter Springs is terrible. As Gillies will explain, this is shown to us by the NCR flag flying upside down.
It's a distress call. This camp is in bad shape, and if we don't get relief soon, I don't know what will happen.
We can help turn the camp's fate quite a bit, and this becomes even easier with Arcade in the party, who can teach the doctor here at the base a thing or two.
Hey, if you can help, I'll take whatever I can get. Doctor's bags would be a huge help, but what I really need are medical texts. I'm not trained to deal with major psychological trauma, and we've got a lot of kids in this camp. Yeah? Hey, sure, that would be fantastic. Thank you, that was very helpful. I don't think I'll need those books after all.
After we have completed the quest, No Not Much, the flag will be fixed, flying right side up, showcasing that the hardship of the camp has been conquered. Small details like this really do it for me, and Obsidian didn't have to include this change. Still, it makes you feel like you really helped out the NCR and adds that much more immersion into Fallout New Vegas. In Fallout New Vegas, the places we visit leave a lasting impression on any courier wandering the Mojave. The vast deserts offer many locations for us to see and explore. Still, some have been cut from the game, even though we can still reach these destinations with console commands. One such place is a Vault-Tec Vault, number 74. The strange thing about this vault is that we can first see the files for it in Fallout 3's GECK tutorial, while only being able to visit the vault in Fallout New Vegas. When we arrive at Vault 74, one of the first things that will catch your eye is that the door says 108. This is likely because the devs had no reason to update the door, as the vault ultimately would not make it into the final game. We still get a quest called Exploring Vault 74. This will require us to enter the vault and make our way through the mainly empty corridors and various raiders patrolling the inside until finally reaching the Overseer's office. Picking up a lone holotape in the office will complete the quest, and the log reads, Data log number 101478. The vault has been breached. There was not enough power to level 5. God have mercy on our souls. This is an interesting find, as it's fun to speculate what could have been going on in this vault that seemingly was overrun by raiders before the courier shows up. What do you think could have been the plan for Vault 74? Is there anything fun you can think to do with this vault? If so, let me know down in the comments below. In Fallout New Vegas, the courier can find plenty of food, drinks, and aid items to help them out in the dry Mojave heat. Anything from pre-war canned food to meat hunted from the local fauna, New Vegas has us covered at dinner time. However, if we spam these items in our inventory, it can lead to some funny, unexpected results. For example, suppose the courier has the NCR emergency radio in their possession. In that case, they can consume the radio after shoving an ungodly amount of chems into their body. This is likely a bug or glitch caused by the effects of using the aid item so quickly. Still, it leads to a tremendous visual that my friend Meme Headroom captured perfectly. I have seen a lot of comments on my channel and discussion elsewhere about what happens if you take out Vulpes before you get to Nipton or before you hit the Tops Casino. Both locations have a spawn point for Vulpes in which he will engage the player. In Nipton, Gaben will show up in his place and offer pretty much an identical speech.
Don't worry, I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates. It's useful that you happen by. I want you to witness the fate of Nipton, to memorize every detail. And then, when you move on, well, I'd like you to move west towards the Mojave outpost, to let the profligates there know about the little sermon I prepared for them here. I am Gaben, from Caesar's Legion. I serve my master as the one of his Frumentari. We Frumentari are soldiers of a different stripe, capable in battle, but skilled as infiltrators and agents as well.
At the Tops, Illyrio shows up and gives us basically the same rundown, though he will mention the death of Vulpes.
The eyes of the mighty Caesar are upon you. He admires your accomplishments and bestows upon you the exceptional gift of his mark. Your crimes against the Legion, including the death of the fearless Vulpes in Kulta, are hereby forgiven. Caesar will not extend this mercy again. My lord requires your presence at his camp at Fortification Hill. His mark will guarantee your safe conduct through our lands. Incidentally, it will interest you to know that the man you seek has fled the Strip, and is likely making haste for Caesar's camp as we speak.
In Fallout New Vegas, one of the locations we can visit is the Mojave Outpost, a quaint little checkpoint home to lost soldiers and caravans alike. Major Knight is posted here, and he takes note of everyone entering the outpost.
Caravan, citizen, pilgrim, or... Just need something for the logbook, keeping tabs on traffic throughout the outpost. Although mostly just in, not out these days.
Knight will offer repairs for a price, but with the confirmed bachelor perk and a little flirting, we can get some unique dialogue from the officer and free gear repairs up to 74%.
Oh, Knight. You must not be from around here. If so, doesn't do to get too friendly. This isn't the Republic. Oddly enough, Legion's a little more forgiving about friendships. Out here, it's not as accepted. Not that I mind being friends, it's just being open about it in the outpost. Well, I have to work here. Now, wait a minute. Republic's a sight better than other alternatives. Women are serving here, after all. The rest, well, might take some time. And they're more accepting back west, like I said. In the meantime, if you need something repaired, let me know. I can sign the work order. As long as caps change hands, I can put them back in yours.
In Fallout New Vegas, one of the factions we can meet is the Boomers. The group originated from Vault 34 and now roams the site of Nellis Air Force Base. With giant howitzers and impressive weaponry, the Boomers live in relative safety inside their gated community. After speaking to Pearl, the de facto leader of the faction, the courier will be tasked with helping the other group members around Nellis. Depending on your build, some quests may be easier than others. The base needs help clearing out some ants, fixing solar arrays, and you can even earn brownie points by listening to the history of the tribe. One of the Boomers we can meet is Dr. Argyle, who has a few patients in his clinic that desperately need medical attention, which the good doctor doesn't seem to be able to provide. Typically, with the right skills, the courier could perform the operations and help the Boomers. Still, if we attempt this with low intelligence, we will get a unique option, and Argyle will comment on the courier's dumb luck.
I have 3 patients here who were gravely injured fighting those giant ants in the generator building a few days ago. I've stabilized their wounds, but they're in bad shape. Do you have medical training? Well, I don't know, actually. I suppose it's possible. You should take a look. Now I know what they mean by dumb luck.
Thank you to Kitten Dispenser from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the biggest rivalries is between the New California Republic and the Great Khans. This isn't the first time the two groups have had troubles, as their origins even go back to the same vault, at least with the standard Khans from the area around the hub. This beef has carried on for over 120 years and likely will never stop. We can see a skirmish between the two groups in Boulder City. The battle seems to be at a standstill, but the courier can offer to negotiate to end things peacefully. Once inside, we can find Jessup, one of the Khans Benny hired for his ambush of the courier. But we can also find McMurphy, who was along for the ride as well, but he has seen better days. We can see McMurphy is in the introduction cutscene that shows Benny shooting the courier, and is featured in the All Roads graphic novel during his time with Benny and the group. While this is an excellent piece of lore and further drives home the animosity between the NCR and the Khans, that isn't the most interesting bit about this encounter. If you're running Fallout New Vegas on PC, you can enter the console and resurrect McMurphy. The Great Khan will have 0 hit points, so using the console again to make sure no one is hostile is a great idea. We can see what McMurphy's plan is once he is back among the living. He will return to the Good Spring Cemetery, standing ominously at the courier's shallow grave. This is just an intriguing thing to trigger in the game and is likely left over from the in-game cut intro that would have had this NPC standing in this exact spot. Whatever the case is, this is far better than lying dead on a moldy mattress, so I am sure McMurphy appreciates it. Thank you to Red Baron PH from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the main factors of the game is how you interact with the various factions that call the Mojave home. When it comes to the two most influential groups, Caesar's Legion and the New California Republic, or NCR, the courier's relationship with them can impact their adventure through New Vegas quite a bit. A positive rep with the NCR can be more rewarding as the group controls large portions of the main map and we run into them more often through a typical playthrough. One thing that changes based on faction rep is the dialogue options we have with major players of the group, many of which could be easily missed in the early game places like the Mojave Outpost. Going there idolized by the NCR will net quite a few unique responses, but this carries through to the other NCR locations around the map as well.
Maybe Jackson got some additional soldiers after all. Didn't take you for a trooper at first. You seem a little livelier than most. All right, if you're here to assist, good. That's what I want to hear.
Caravan, citizen, pilgrim, or... reinforcements? About time we got some more hands around here. Just need something for the logbook, keeping tabs on traffic throughout the outpost. Although mostly just in, not out these days. Well, about time we got a soldier, and not a recruit. You look like you've seen some action. I need to get the caravans moving again. That means clearing a path north. There's too much crawling the asphalt up the road to allow it.
I didn't expect someone as famous as you to be here. Please tell me you're here to help.
In Fallout New Vegas, among all the other junk and scrap that we can find lying around the wasteland, one item in particular seems utterly useless beyond being a set decoration, and we can find quite a few of them in the Mojave, the welding gun. We can find one of these in a house in Nipton. Still, they can be seen in most places you would expect them. Old garages and workshops throughout the wasteland are a perfect place to start looking. The strange thing about these welding guns is that the player cannot add them to their inventory, even though they are labeled on screen. While this is rare, other objects do have this trait. We can carry these tools around but can't pick them up. While this is strange, it could be that the welding guns were planned to aid in the repair of our weapons, though that is just speculation. These items were first introduced in the Fallout 3 DLC, The Pit, where we can see the steel yard slaves using them for work around the city. In Fallout 3, these objects behave the same way, but we do see NPCs performing animations with the tools equipped. It could be that the welding gun's only purpose was to aid these animations, so adding the ability to add them to our inventory was not on the list of things to do. Then, with New Vegas, Obsidian used what they could to fill the Mojave out and make it feel more immersive, so adding these items as set pieces to tell environmental stories totally makes sense. Whatever the case may be, even with console commands, we cannot add these tools to our inventory, which can leave you wondering what they are for, considering the on-screen text name of the item. So we won't have an easy time trying to decorate our house with these, but the welding guns are interesting nonetheless. Big thanks to Badaz Sasha from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, just on the cusp of the radiated Mesquite Mountains crater, we can find an overlooked, interesting two-story shack simply called Hell's Motel. One of the most noticeable things about this house on the edge of the crater is that we don't experience any radiation exposure on the inside, which is in contrast to the high amounts we receive just on the outside of the shack. Oh, and there's a dead ghoul on the ground. This is Dr. Rotson, and I assume he was killed by the crazed Mr. Handy here, which is a shame. We can see that Rotson was quite set up in his tiny home. Being a ghoul, the radiation and ferals outside would not pose a problem. He has a personal fungus farm outside and a distillery in the kitchen. This guy was set up for wasteland living. Around the house, we can find a few things like a star bottle cap, a weapon repair kit, and even a copy of the DC Journal of Internal Medicine. Inside the fridge, we can find some random irradiated food or drink, which is cool because this can create some ultra rare items that you won't find anywhere else, except for like maybe Searchlight. Still, looting the doctor himself has a strange occurrence. When picking up the Wasteland Surgeon outfit and equipping it, and then moving to the effects tab, we can see it lists as Dr. Barrow's lab coat, who only appears in Fallout 3. This is likely because New Vegas was essentially built using a lot of assets from Fallout 3, per Bethesda, which would then be edited or changed to fit the Mojave, as we can still find a ton of unused items from Fallout 3 in the game files for New Vegas. Hell's Motel may be a bit off the beaten path, but it's a fun stop during your journeys through the Mojave. Thank you to Steven the 429th from the Discord server for suggesting this one. Make sure to check the description below for links to the server if you want to chat about Fallout. In Fallout New Vegas, coming to the strip can be a big moment. The lights and sounds can be a lot to take in. The New Vegas strip is filled with people to meet and quests to do, one of which brings us to the Aces Theater in the Tops Casino. Speaking with Tommy Tarini, we can get the Talent Pool quest, which sees the courier gather up acts for performances the casino provides. One of the acts that we can meet is Hadrian, a ghoul that performs stand-up comedy at the Atomic Wrangler. Once the quest is complete, we can return to the Aces Theater to watch the various performances of the people we recruited for Tommy, including Hadrian's, who will have some unique dialogue based on the courier's special stats. The ghoul will make remarks based on how low or high each stat is, with each attribute having 2 bits of commentary according to its rank, making for some funny personalized jokes during his show.
Somebody told me the other day you were bright. I wasn't sure if you meant smart or radioactive. Buddy, you look tough enough to drink a pint of glowing water. Why don't you do us all a favor and try it? This guy right here, he's got an angel looking over his shoulder. If I were him, I'd get a restraining order. Hey, look at this guy. I didn't know they let Brahmin into this joint. My friend, you've got style, grace, and charm. The style of a feral ghoul, the grace of a super mutant, and the charm of a Deathclaw.
Thank you to Joe Splash from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the factions we have to deal with is the Brotherhood of Steel, a now hermit group living in Hidden Valley. After helping the underground dwellers significantly, we will have the option to join the faction outright, which offers the Power Armor training perk, allowing the courier to wear power armor. This isn't the only place we can get this perk though. If we have done work with the Enclave remnants, they will offer the same reward. This lets us know how to use power armor before getting the training from Elder McNamara, who will be pretty surprised about an outsider having this know-how.
Would you like to tell me where you learned such a thing? No, don't bother. A person as well-traveled as yourself is bound to pick up all kinds of skills, I suppose. Luckily, that's not all I have for you. I've also given the order that all of our equipment be made available to you, not just the more mundane arms. You're a member of the Brotherhood now, and your gear should reflect that. Lastly, you will be allowed to come and go as you please. You've done so much for us that to do otherwise would be a crime. I just ask that you keep the Brotherhood's interests at heart in all your dealings. Remember that you will always have a home here.
This doesn't give us the option to tell the Brotherhood about the Enclave forces that still remain. Still, it is a cool, unique dialogue that can be triggered. Not all power armor in New Vegas requires this training though, as we can see with the NCR. We can find NCR salvaged power armor on heavy troopers. Even in the Ranger's safe house, these armor sets do not require this perk because they no longer count as powered armor after being salvaged by the NCR. With the jury rigging perk, we can even repair these with sets of heavy armor that are more common, like metal armor. In Fallout New Vegas, many factions are waiting to meet the courier in the Mojave. From squabbling tribes to organized military outfits and everything in between, the desert is filled with groups that can be visited by the courier. Throughout our journey, the gangs of the Mojave will take notice of our actions, which will reward the player with reputation titles within the factions, one of which is Wild Child. This occurs when the courier has enough fame points with a group to be idolized, but also enough infamy points to be vilified as well. Suppose we have this reputation with the NCR by the time we work for the Crimson Caravan. In that case, we can get some unique dialogue during one of the quests that wouldn't be there otherwise. Alice McLafferty will ask the courier to convince a problematic employee, Henry Jameson, to resign from his position as CEO of the Crimson Caravan Mojave branch. As an NCR Wild Child, we can confide in Henry our true intentions with the NCR and give him some advice. New Vegas is filled with dialogue, and it's always fun to find the hidden speech lines throughout our quest that take a particular skill or experience in game to show up.
How's it going?
Shove off, you're making my luck turn bad. Fuck no! No matter what that old bitch McLafferty says, my dad said I could be in charge of the New Vegas branch. Besides, I got into a little money trouble with the Omertas. If I quit the Crimson Caravan, how am I supposed to get the money to gamble? Yeah, all right. If McLafferty complains long enough, my folks might haul me back to California just to shut her up. Tell the old hag I'm gone.
Thank you to Azzy from the Discord server for suggesting this. Make sure to check out the channel Atomic Media, whose video was used as a reference for this fun fact. In Fallout New Vegas, we can visit the various casinos on the Strip for some much needed rest and relaxation. One casino houses the man who shot the courier in Good Springs and left them for dead, Benny. His tribe runs the Tops Casino. While most people will want to handle things as soon as they see Benny, this can be difficult due to the casino confiscating any weapons they find upon entering. We can still get access to our guns though, and doing so will prompt Benny to say some unique dialogue. Once inside the Tops, if we head up to the locker where the weapons are stored, we can sneak our way past the cashier. We can lockpick the container and get all of our weapons back. Now going to Benny, we can tell him what we are up to for some humorous reactions.
What in the goddamn? Let's keep this in the groove, hey? Smooth moves like smooth little babies. You want a reason? How about 4? They're called bodyguards, and every one of them is packing. Me too, so baby makes 5. Add to that, every chairman in this joint is armed, and not with some holdout pea shooter like maybe you smuggled through security. Anything I needed to worry about, baby, got confiscated at the door. You're bluffing, baby. Except maybe you're not. Sweet little caper getting your weapons back, but let cooler heads prevail, eh? No need for violence. We got a problem, boys.
Watch out!
Shout out to Kitty from the Discord for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, if you travel to Camp McCarran, the courier can speak to Private Christina Morales inside the concourse here. Doing so will reveal that she has recently lost her husband, an NCR ranger, during a firefight with the Fiends. This starts a semi-unmarked quest to retrieve the body of Esteban Morales. I say semi-unmarked because the quest itself is considered unmarked, but we get a map marker to see where Esteban wound up. An NCR trooper will stop and warn us about the Fiends on our way up to the scene. Seems Esteban is in between a group of buildings, and the raiders have the area surrounded. We can find Ranger Jackson's body here as well. Nothing happens if we recover him though. Picking off the Fiends, we can bring the fallen trooper to his brothers in arms, and they will promise to send him back to California.
I don't believe it. Who the hell are you, man? How did you just walk right up and pull him out of there? Oh, bullshit. What anybody else would have done is get their asses killed. You're leading some kind of charmed life. We'll make sure Ranger Morales' body gets sent back home. You don't have to, pick him up on your shoulder and haul him to California. Even though I believe you would if you had to. You should go tell Private Morales the news. I know she'll be relieved.
Though the dialogue will change if we take an extreme amount of damage during the mission.
Oh my god, are you okay? You've got to get to a medic. Doc Kemp can patch you up back at base. How could you sacrifice your body like that? You never even met him. If the NCR doesn't have a medal for this, they should make one up.
Returning to Christina puts her at ease, and the whole quest just feels nice to do. This is pretty easily missable, as one could not visit the concourse at all in a playthrough, let alone talk to Morales. It is undoubtedly one of the saddest quests in New Vegas. This one was suggested by multiple people on Discord and in the YouTube comments. In Fallout New Vegas, you can find Aster patrolling with a group of troopers at Camp Searchlight. If you have been to Cottonwood Cove, you can reveal this to him. He explains that the NCR is keeping an eye on that place. Still, he very clearly has his hands full with the Searchlight area, it having just been hit by a chemical attack from the Legion and all. Aster will tell the courier to get some intel from the camp and plant a bug on the Legion's radio. This can be quickly done with a bit of sneaking, and we can return to Aster with all the information we found out about Cottonwood. This is when Aster will say he wants someone to take out the camp for good. Killing every legionary in the area would be a good start, still it doesn't stop them from reforming later, which would indeed happen. Luckily, there is a way to prevent Cottonwood from hosting Legion or anyone else ever again. On Cottonwood Overlook, we can find this truck teetering off the edge, door facing the camp. We can open this hatch during the quest and let all of the toxic waste barrels fall into the settlement, killing every Legion guard who gets close.
Let's hear it. What? How did you pull it off? That's exactly what we needed to put a cork in that camp. The Legion won't be moving through there anytime soon. Fitting that the camp was taken care of in a way similar to Searchlight. Thank you for taking care of that place for us.
One of the best parts of doing the quest an eye for an eye this way is how the devs handled going to the fort afterwards. If you still wanted to play a Legion run after this, you could, so they give Lucullus a radiation suit to protect him from the barrels. A good tactic indeed, but this also comes with some unique dialogue.
I warned them about that truck weeks ago. Always be prepared for any hazardous radiation, I said. Those headstrong fools should have listened. Are you ready to head upriver?
This is just another excellent example of New Vegas giving the player creative options to finish their goals. And if you have a favorite alternate way to complete any Fallout quest, make sure to tell me about them in the comments below. Thank you to Daddy Harambe and Euro from the Discord server for suggesting this one. Also make sure to check the links in the description to join the server yourself or to follow me on apps like Twitter and Instagram. Fallout New Vegas is renowned for player choice and spoken dialogue, with many lines hidden behind certain stat and skill checks. We can find one in Freeside that some players may miss due to the low intelligence required and because it's interlaced with Veronica's companion quest. We will need to speak to this vagrant to find the rangefinder Veronica is looking for. Typically, the NPC will mutter incoherently and not make much sense, even when you open his dialogue.
Huh? Kids run by sometimes.
With a low intelligence character, we can find some unique dialogue here. The Vagrant will now be speaking very well and with an enhanced vocabulary.
Friend, not a few minutes ago I chanced upon a pair of destitute orphans grappling over just such an item. If you cover the area methodically, I'm quite certain you'll happen upon them with only the most insubstantial of delays. Be well, and do try and avoid the tragic path of the sot that led me to my present infirmities and spiritual woes. Fare thee well.
This is likely a callback to Fallout 2, where a low intelligence chosen one could get similar dialogue once they meet Tor and help the tribal guard his Brahmin from rad scorpion attacks. The dialogue will change to show that these two smooth brains can understand each other much more than someone with average or above average intelligence. This is peak Fallout humor, and moving forward with the series, I would love to see more dialogue changes based on intelligence stats. In Fallout New Vegas, Freeside is by far one of the most active areas. Being the gateway to Vegas, the area is home to many thugs and con artists, so naturally, people new to the city may want an escort through the rougher parts of town. One bodyguard that hangs around the north gate of Freeside has caught the attention of the Kings due to how many repeat customers he gets. The King will have the courier investigate this. Still, there are ways we can disappoint the Elvis impersonator when dealing with Oris. First, if we take out Oris before speaking to the King, we can get some unique dialogue from the less than thrilled leader.
So, it went down like that, huh? I guess it can't be helped now. Even though you lack subtlety, you've shown me you can get the job done. So maybe you can help me with something more important.
Suppose we take the quest and hire Oris the way the King wants us to. In that case, we can ignore the bodyguard's instructions about the group of thugs, which leads to some unique dialogue from Oris.
Howdy. Impressive work fighting off Benny's thugs. I guess they weren't harmless after all. I'm not often mistaken, you know. I know I wouldn't have survived that. Well, here we are. No worse for wear, are you? I trust that if you need to cross Freeside again, you'll know who to hire.
Afterward, the King will be upset that we didn't find anything wrong with Oris and send us back out to hire him again, this time without covering the charge.
What do you have for me? Oh, he did he? Well, that just ain't good enough. Get back out there and hire him again. Hire him 100 times if that's what it takes. And before you ask, I'm not gonna cover the cost this time. It's bad enough I'm giving the man more business.
In Fallout New Vegas, one of the unmarked locations we can come across is a rundown old neon sign shop known as Zaps. It's one of the harder to miss locations in South Vegas, as a bunch of unique objects are placed around the building. One of the objects is misidentified in the Fallout New Vegas game guide as being the same feat as the Tallboy statue in Paradise Falls. Looking at the model from Fallout 3, we can see that the feet are not the same color, not in the same pose, and are seemingly not the same model as the feet we see behind Zaps in New Vegas. If these somehow are the same feet that we see on the Tallboy statue, then Obsidian did an incredible job of changing it completely. This is just the beginning, as when we come inside, we will see Duke. This fiend boss stands at the top of the staircase, guarding the administration room and taking pot shots at the various mines and extinguishers that are littering the area. Duke is one of the only fiends not wearing traditional faction armor. While he is a named NPC, he has no interaction with the player character outside of being hostile. The most interesting thing about Duke is that he is one of only 5 characters in New Vegas to be flagged with a very evil karma rating. Past Duke and inside the room that he's guarding, we can find a couple of Nuka-Cola quartz. Still, more interestingly, we can find an upside down first aid kit on the wall here, its latches facing upwards. Moving to the terminal, we can see that it refers to this location as McMurray's Neon Sign Designs. This could be a former name of the business or just an oversight on the developer's end, but it's curious nonetheless. Places like this can be found all over the Mojave, with bizarre things to discover and hidden gems to collect. Zap's neon signs stands out due to the many odd things that we can find in such a small area. Thank you to Rex from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we can meet the people of the Mojave. While not all of them are the friendly type, one of the most beloved can be found as soon as we start our journey. Doc Mitchell is the resident medicine man of Good Springs, and he spends his time patching people up and tending to his home. Though times seem good for Mitch now, that wasn't always the case, and if we do some traveling, we can piece together his story. Doc Mitchell is from Vault 21, and if we visit the vault on the Strip and speak with Sarah, we can get a bit more info about the Goodsprings doctor.
Mitch? You mean Molebutt? I hadn't thought about that name in a long time. I was just a child and he had a big mole in his rear bumper. You understand, kids and all that. Everyone knows about each other in a vault. There's no other way. I hope Mitch is doing well.
If we head back to Doc Mitchell after speaking with Sarah, we can ask him about being from Vault 21. He will then reveal the saddest part of his story.
Yep, he sure did. Wanted himself a hotel, and to make sure once he made the change, there'd never be any going back. We didn't get a say. I don't know how you'd argue with a fella like that anyways, everywhere and nowhere all at once. So, just like that, we was all homeless. Went our separate ways, and that was all she wrote. Eventually, we made our way out here, but, when folks spend their lives in isolation, sometimes that ain't the best of things for learning to fight off germs. We was going to California, but Goodsprings was as far as we got. After she passed, wasn't no reason to keep going. I stayed so I could keep close to her.
In the Fallout New Vegas DLC, Old World Blues, we find ourselves at the mercy of mad scientists turned post-apocalyptic robots in the Big Mountain facility. Dr. Klein and his group of wayward floating brethren have removed your spine, heart, and most importantly to this video, your brain. Because of this, we actually get some dialogue with what is essentially ourselves during the endgame of the DLC. One of the first things people notice about this brain is the voice. Many people relate it to the sound of Stewie Griffin from Family Guy. This is no coincidence, as the voice actor, Sunil Malhotra, confirmed he based the character on the Family Guy star.
Well, look who finally dragged themselves in out of the wasteland. And where have we been, Crawling through pits of radioactive muck again?
If you are playing a female character, the voice will remain the same, but our brain does have an explanation for this.
Well, as to that, you'd be surprised how hard a feminine-sounding voice modulator is to find in the Forbidden Zone. It's not as though brain-sustaining life support tanks grow on trees. I had to take what I could get.
It also seems our brain has picked up some tunes on the various ventures around the wasteland, as we can hear it hum the Begin Again song from the Dead Money DLC, which regularly plays on mysterious broadcast around Big MT.
Begin again in the night. Let's sway again tonight.
In Fallout New Vegas, the main quest ultimately leads to the second Battle of Hoover Dam, with the main factions involved being the NCR and Caesar's Legion. Once this battle is complete, the story of New Vegas ends as well, and so does the gameplay, but this wasn't always going to be the case. Fallout New Vegas, at one point, had planned for the player to continue playing after the Battle of Hoover Dam. This is proved by the cut lines of dialogue that we can find in the game files. These bits reveal a bit of what the game world would have been like after the main faction's victory, and make us wonder what the scope of New Vegas would have been if a post-game section had been included.
With the Legion defeated, things are great now.
All those NCR troops should see me to celebrate. Come one, come all. I'm not letting the Legion make me a slave. Even I have standards.
Intense fighting erupted on Hoover Dam as tensions between NCR and Caesar's Legion boiled over. Reports indicate that NCR forces emerged victorious and the Legion scattered amidst the defeat of its most feared military leader. Preliminary word is that Caesar's Legion has taken control of the dam and that the NCR presence in Nevada is severely crippled. While it initially appeared to be an NCR victory, we're receiving word that our own Mr. House may have been the one to secure the dam for himself. But in a shocking turn of events, the dam has been rendered useless, and both sides have taken heavy casualties. Neither faction appears to have won. But in a shocking turn of events, an army of Securitrons has seized control of the dam, preventing both sides from claiming it. Now, sources of the dam are telling us that the involvement of one key person appears to have heavily influenced the outcome.
Welcome to Vegas, capital of the sixth state of the new California Republic. True to Kaiser.
Shout out to Aloha from the Discord for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, there are a few ways that we can confront Benny. It's safe to say that the majority of players will simply walk up to the checkered Lothario and speak to him on sight, so some may find any alternatives to this as a surprise. First, talking to Swank and either giving him some evidence like Benny's lighter and cigarette butts or passing a few speech checks will see the courier get their weapons returned inside the casino. Swank even informs us that he will tell the staff to look the other way about us carrying heat. This can lead to the courier confronting Benny in his own room, which will grant some different dialogue options and choices when it comes to dealing with him once and for all.
What in the goddamn? You? How could you be... Oh, Swank, you finky bastard. You got a crazy drop on me, baby, but you don't want to kill me. We should be working together.
Still, if we talk to Benny on the main casino floor and meet him in the presidential suite after passing his speech check, we will be allowed to forgive him. Let's take him out after making this choice. We get a rather unique set of circumstances to see an area that will not be open during any other part of the game. When Benny starts to leave, New Vegas sees this as him fleeing, as he will be making his way to the fort after this and ultimately will get captured by the Legion. Because of this code in the game files, the elevator door to Benny's secret escape tunnel will be unlocked to allow him to use it to make his way into the Legion's loving embrace. By killing him before he leaves the presidential suite, he never reaches the door, which is coded to remain unlocked during this script until Benny passes through this door, which will immediately relock and require a key that doesn't exist to open it. So by doing this, we have the only way to see and visit this tunnel without console commands or any special tricks. This means this is the only way on Xbox and PlayStation to go to this location. The tunnel is pretty bare as it really was never supposed to be seen, likely cut with the myriad of other things that lie on the cutting room floor for New Vegas. Still, this is a small detail that many people will likely miss, as the drive to kill Benny in other ways is strong, and the game encourages us to follow a different path. In Fallout New Vegas, some lost souls that we find in the Mojave can join the courier on their wasteland adventures, like Veronica, a Brotherhood scribe with quite a storied history, and while she has an in-depth companion quest, I find her personal goal much more charming. If the courier asks Veronica what she wants, the scribe will start gushing about pre-war dresses.
I want a dress. Yeah, a good one. Something elegant and classy, you know? But still stylish. Something that's eye-catching and sexy, but also says, don't fuck with me. I keep hoping I'll come across some old-world designer gown when I'm scavenging, but it never happens. Maybe I should move back to California. Hey, you try getting a date wearing scribe robes. Might as well be wearing sweatpants. I just like them, you know? They make you feel like a woman. Those ladies, before the war, they knew what they were doing.
This starts the unmarked quest, You Make Me Feel Like a Woman, that involves finding a suitable dress for Veronica and placing it in her inventory. A few clothing items count for the quest, even Vera Key's gown from Dead Money. However, I only got Veronica to engage the final part of the quest with the formal wear. Once we place it in her inventory, Veronica will be beyond excited about the new fit and teach the courier the Scribe Counter unarmed perk, allowing a decent counterattack after blocking in combat.
For me? Do you mean it? No, it's too much. Well, okay, but it's too much. Oh, it's perfect. Thank you. I wish I had something to give you. Wait, what about punching? That's the gift that keeps on giving. I could work on your punching with you, if you like. Show you how to counter like a scribe. All right, put him up. Let's see what you got.
The perk is a great reward, but nothing beats how genuinely excited Veronica gets just to have a lovely dress to wear when she's roaming around the Mojave. Thank you to Daddy Harambe from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we are all familiar with Helios 1. The power plant is one of the most sought after landmarks in the Mojave. When doing the lucky old sun quest, we have a few options that will change the future of fan favorite, Fantastic. Suppose we follow the NCR's plan, sending the power to the Strip in McCarran. In that case, Fantastic will get a promotion to Hoover Dam, claiming to be in charge of the whole shebang.
Well, look who it is. Fantastic's little helper, all grown up, following in his master's footsteps. What's it look like, man? I'm fucking king of the NCR. Caesar's Legion has Caesar, the NCR's got Fantastic. It's Fantastic's NCR now. This whole war's about power, man. Caesar wants it, NCR wants it. Fantastic's got it. After I fixed Helios 1 and basically saved the NCR from the dumb shits who run it, I got myself a little promotion. Now I run the whole shebang.
Still, if we arm Archimedes 1 and wipe out the NCR, returning a few days later, we will see the Legion has taken Helios. Due to this, Fantastic will be donned in Legion gear and spouting his pride for a job well done.
Hey man, when in Rome. Man, I don't even know. It's crazy. Shh, you feel that? That's the winds of change, baby, and Fantastic's riding them with his magical angel wings. They saw the shit I did for the NCR, how I carried them on my back, brought the fire to the heathens. I wasn't gonna help them, but they begged. Well, somebody begged. Couldn't say who for sure. It's all a blur, you know? Chems, man. What a trip. I'm working on some top secret shit I can't even tell you about. It's so mind-blowing. But here's a little taste. You know how you can only collect sunlight during the day? Well, what if you could make it daytime all the time? Crazy, right? Or is it? I'm gonna find somebody smart and ask him that question, see what he says. It'll be fucking intense. Adios, amigo.
This has been suggested by many people on Discord and in the YouTube comments, but most recently by PZEasy23. In Fallout New Vegas, we can come across many small details and exciting discoveries that really tie the game world together. One such location is the unmarked Deathclaw Promontory on the east side of the river, across from a prospector's camp. Here, we can find all of the Deathclaws New Vegas has been hiding from us, and if you thought Quarry Junction was rough, this place is like the hard mode version of that area. No place to hide mixed with tight valleys make this peninsula a literal death trap. But if you can manage the Deathclaws, there is quite the reward waiting for you. We can find two prospectors here, each wearing power armor, with one wearing quite possibly the best and rarest in the game. The Enclave Remnant's power armor can be looted, and if you have the power armor training perk, it's yours to wear. With the OP jury rigging perk, you can even repair this armor with the T-51B you find here, but now we have to find the helmet to make this complete. That journey will bring us to Silver Peak Mine, which lies on the road to Jacobstown and is pretty close to the Remnant's bunker itself. This place is no walk in the park either, as the mine is dark and filled with the shadows and noises of Cazadores, which will make short work of any explorer foolish enough to breach the entrance. After working our way through the flying killing machines, we can find an unlocked gate that will have the helmet we are looking for lying next to the skeleton of an assumed Enclave member who spent their last days here. Looting it, we can use jury rigging again to repair the helmet with the T-51B piece that we found at the promontory. And now, we are rocking the best armor in the game, at least in my opinion. This is not the only way to get this armor set in the game either, but it certainly is the fastest, as Arcade's quest can take quite some time, and the Remnants will only really have this towards the end game. An interesting fact about the Enclave Remnants armor is that game director Joshua Sawyer had planned to make every NPC in the game hostile to the player if they were wearing this, taking from the Fallout 2 story of the Enclave being vilified by most everyone in the area. I imagine this would involve people being surprised to see a set of this armor out in the wild. This was cut and changed because Sawyer believed it took away from the player's experience in game, and I can see why. But it would be a fun trade-off. Either way, to me, this is the most iconic armor in the Fallout series, being modeled after the advanced power armor from Fallout 2. Not only is it great to see it in Fallout New Vegas, but it's a must-have for item collectors in any playthrough. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the perks we can pick as long as the courier is level 8 is Sneering Imperialist. This boosts damage against raiders, junkies, and tribals by 15% and increases our VAT's hit chance against them. This isn't the only thing the perk is good for, as occasionally we will see some unique dialogue. some of which we can find in the Honest Hearts DLC. The first time we sneer is when entering Angel Cave, where we get a new way to respond to the dead horses.
Hoi, Auslander Zuka Joshua Graham. Scheiß! Would kill you myself, but Joshua says no harm to visitors until harm done to us. Go, Auslander. Meet Joshua. We see how long you talk like that.
The most notable comes from the end of the DLC though. After we side with Joshua Graham and trek Zion with him, he will confront Salt Upon Wounds. With Sneering Imperialist, we can encourage the Burned Man to eliminate the White-Leg's leader.
You took advantage of us at New Canaan to drive us out. And like the dogs of Caesar you are, you followed us to Zion. And now you stand on holy ground, a temple to God's glory on earth. The only use for an animal in our temple is sacrifice. Kale wachene conserva o. You understand me, don't you? Don't you?
Outman. Kunaman mad. He killed all White-Legs. You talk. You stop. Baika Kerr. You devil.
There. That's it. It's finished. When they hear what happened here, the White Men will crawl back to their great Salt Lake. If Caesar doesn't kill them, they'll wither and die like the cursed mongrels they are. Come, let's find Daniel. Tomorrow we'll be here soon, and there is still much work to be done.
Howdy, partner. Might I say you're looking fit as a fiddle?
In Fallout New Vegas, we meet Victor, the lovable cowboy-themed Securitron that resides in Goodsprings. I want to talk about a couple of things that it seems some players miss due to the way the game is laid out. Victor digs the courier out of their shallow grave, and we wake up in Doc's bed. After leaving Doc Mitchell's house, he's the first NPC we come across, so naturally, he is usually the first person we talk to outside of the dock. During the first real quest that shows itself to us, Ghost Town Gunfight, we are tasked with mustering up as many townsfolk as possible for the upcoming raid from the Powder Gangers. Everyone involved with the quest is marked except for Victor himself. The first bit of unique dialogue happens here, where we can recruit Victor for the battle.
Trouble with rustlers, huh? Count me in, partner. Those varmints will be running home with their tails between their legs soon enough.
Victor will no-show the fight, so catching up with him after, we can use a science skill check to reveal that an override was issued remotely in his programming.
Howdy, partner. So when do the rustlers show up? Really? I must have dozed off. Although that's never happened before. All right, but put everything back the way you found it. Override? That can't be right. Probably just a malfunctioning tube somewhere. I truly am sorry I couldn't help you, partner. Was there something else you wanted to talk about?
Now, the other bit of Victor's unique dialogue comes from not speaking to him until you hit New Vegas, where he will give you a fabulous introduction.
Howdy, partner. You come for a piece, haven't you? Welcome to New Vegas. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the Securitron that dug you up in the bone orchard outside Goodsprings. I thought you'd gone up the flume, but that Doc Mitchell knows his trade. It's good to see you up and around, right as a trivet. Consider me your personal welcome wagon. Now hear this. The head honcho of New Vegas, Mr. House, is itching to make your acquaintance. Just head for the Lucky 38. It's the big old tower shaped like a roulette spinner. Yeehaw, partner. That's the spirit. He'll be waiting for you.
I love the attention to things like this in New Vegas. It's quite the reward for players that don't really follow the beaten path. Thank you to Azzy from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we see firsthand the battle between the Legion and the NCR. Many different towns and locations are affected by this, and one of the most notable is Nelson. The town of Nelson has been overrun by the Legion, who have NCR troopers displayed on crosses in the center of the settlement. Ranger Milo is one of the NPCs that we can meet just outside on the road leading to the site. Milo has a few unique interactions that are worth mentioning. For example, Ranger Milo is one of the only NPCs that the courier tells their name to, which will prompt an NCR reputation check, changing Milo's dialogue depending on the relationship with the faction.
My apologies, but that name and face ain't ringing the old school bell upstairs. Afraid I can't let you through until the situation is resolved. Fair enough. It's not like any of the troopers around here are jumping up to volunteer. Oh heck, I've heard of you. Supposed to be a regular hero or something, ain't that right? But maybe you're a little too reputable to get involved in some dirty work for the Republic. Well, I'll be damned. Looks like you've got some dirt in you after all.
Ranger Milo will mention that some Legion snakes have taken control of Nelson. A courier with intelligence under 4 will not understand his metaphoric speaking, leading to some humorous, unique dialogue.
Hold up there. This area is locked down by the NCR military until we can dislodge some Legion snakes from Nelson. You're one of them special folks, ain't you? They ain't real snakes, see? They're Legion soldiers. I just called them snakes because they're low down and sneaky. Like a snake. Anyway, we always have trouble with Legion around here. This time, they jumped to camp in Nelson while the troopers were setting up. Captured a bunch of gear and took the town. Couple of troopers, too. Got them crucified down near the center of town.
Finally, the Ranger will joke with the courier about having a couple of dozen hits of Psycho to boost the troops. Suppose we call his bluff and actually have that much Psycho in our inventory. In that case, Milo will have more unique dialogue for this.
Well, I'll be damned. Looks like you've got some dirt in you after all. If you had a few dozen doses of Psycho on you, maybe we could pep those weepy troopers into charging down into Nelson and taking back the camp. But since that's not likely, you could help me take out the Legion's trooper hostages. All right. I have to admit I wasn't expecting you to say that. I was just joking, but if it makes you feel any better, I'm impressed. So anyway, how about those hostages?
Ranger Milo has a lot of character-specific dialogues and interactions. It really shows the amount of care and attention to detail that was applied when Fallout New Vegas was in development. Fallout New Vegas follows the events of the Mojave after the courier is shot and left for dead in Good Springs. The bulk of the game is about deciding the fate of the Mojave by taking one of 4 paths. The courier can side with major factions during the upcoming battle at Hoover Dam, such as the NCR and the Legion, or they can fulfill the dreams of Mr. House by securing New Vegas under his guise. The possibility of taking matters into their own hands even exists through Yes Man. Some New Vegas players may not know that there is a hidden ending buried under a few requirements that sees the courier and Father Elijah take the Mojave. Before starting the Dead Money DLC, this can happen if the courier is vilified by the NCR and has recruited Veronica as a companion. Of course, making sure to ask her all about Father Elijah.
I would say he was my tutor, but that doesn't cover it. After my parents passed, he looked after me. The whole Brotherhood brought me up, really, but he made sure of it. I never had a grandfather, not that I knew anyway. But Elijah was in some ways what I'd imagine a grandfather to be.
Now, you would have to take on the task of going through the Dead Money DLC. It doesn't matter who lives or dies by the end. Once you're at the Sierra Madre Vault, talk to Elijah about Veronica.
Veronica? She survived Helios? She would. Resourceful.
Elijah will then express his desire for the Mojave, and since we're vilified by the NCR, we can agree with him. Now, we get the most hidden ending slide in New Vegas.
Perhaps I was too quick to put a collar on a potential ally. Very well. I'll come down and show you what the Sierra Madre has in store.
In the years that followed, the legend of the Sierra Madre faded, and there were no new visitors to the city. Years later, when a mysterious blood-red cloud began to roll across the Mojave, then west toward the Republic, no one knew where it had come from. Only that it brought death in its wake. Attempts to find the source of the toxic cloud failed. The Mojave was cut off, Through the cloud, lights were seen from Helios 1. There were stories of ghosts immune to gunfire who struck down anyone they saw with rays of light. The last chapter of the Mojave came when a modified Repcon rocket struck Hoover Dam, releasing a blood-red cloud, killing all stationed there. All attempts to penetrate the cloud and retake the dam failed, and both the NCR and Legion finally turned away from it, citing the place as cursed. Only 2 remained alive in the depths of the cloud at the Sierra Madre, waiting for their new world to begin again.
In Fallout New Vegas, after being dug out of a shallow grave, we will meet Doc Mitchell, the Good Springs Town doctor. Mitchell will guide us through character creation while offering some delightful banter along the way. When it comes time for the Vitomatic Vigor Tester, Doc Mitchell has a ton of dialogue that can be triggered by going extremely high or terrifyingly low on each special stat.
That's some serious atrophy, even for someone who's been in bed a while. It's a wonder you can move at all. Surprised anybody'd want to tangle with you. Heck, you could go Deathclaw hunting with a switch. Now, I ain't no optometrist, but maybe we should fit you for some glasses while you're here. Nothing gets by you, huh? Could have used you when I lost my keys last month. I just don't get it. A stiff breeze would tear you in two, but a couple of bullets and you're right as rain. I guess that explains how you're still alive. You're built solid as an oak. Huh. Must be some frontal lobe damage. Good to see them bullets didn't affect your charm none. Sorry, son. I fixed up your head as best I knew how. I guess I missed a spot. Look at that. Maybe them bullets done your brain some good. Don't have all your coordination back yet, looks like. You should think about doing some rehab. Most patients don't get out of bed after being shot and then move like they was in perfect control. You're unusual, I'll say that. Now that don't make a lick of sense. Seems to me you're the luckiest son of a gun in New Vegas. With luck like yours, I'm surprised them bullets didn't just turn right around and climb back into the gun. Yeah, that's a pretty standard score there, but after what you've been through, I'd say that's great news.
Doc Mitchell will also have different items to give out depending on your build, like the boxing gloves for unarmed characters. Fallout New Vegas never ceases to impress me with how much detail it has packed into such a great game. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the most interesting characters, who is often overlooked, is Emily Ortal. She's from Arroyo, the starting location of Fallout 2, which raises its own questions. Still, she also has quite the story if the courier has the stats to get her to open up. We meet Emily outside the Lucky 38. She wants us to bug Mr. House's network to get a glimpse at the tech that has kept him alive for centuries. It's here that we get one of the best ways to ask for caps with a barter check.
Right. We just want to find out what sort of technology Mr. House has used to stay alive for all these years. It could be of great benefit to the people we try to help, many of whom suffer from hard-to-diagnose illnesses. Ah, I see. I suppose I can give you some medical supplies for your efforts. I assure you they will be worth plenty of caps.
That is not the end of the unique dialogue though, as we can get more information from Emily with an intelligence check or a speech check, respectively.
This is important enough to the followers that we scrape together the caps required for the credit check. And I'm staying at Vault 21, which is pretty cheap, for the Strip anyway. After 2 tries, I think I've learned enough. I'm sure there's something more promising I could be helping the other followers with. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you about the first time. I'd rather not talk about it if you don't mind. True. Alright. The first try was a little less professional. Someone important on the Strip had access to some of House's technology. Specifically, a Securitron. And more specifically, the someone was Benny. I know, he shot you in the head and everything. But this was a while ago. I knew he was sleazy, but I didn't realize he was so cold-blooded.
Still, one line of dialogue was hidden away in Fallout New Vegas due to a developer error. After returning to Emily post-quest, the courier would have the option to pass a perception check to find out that she had slept with Benny. By normal means, this dialogue does not appear in the game, as the developers accidentally coded the game to check Emily's perception and not the player's. On PC, we can use mods or console commands to make this line appear.
Ugh, so gross. It was bad enough that I didn't get any data out of the Securitron. This is why I didn't want to talk about it. It only happened once. I chalk it up to sleep deprivation and one atomic cocktail too many. I take it you're speaking from experience. You're right, though. He's gone now, so I'm not gonna let it bother me anymore. Thanks.
Get fucked.